Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
What do you guys want to talk about?
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
Those are my limits. I'll live here. I will not say y'all. I will not use ranch dressing. Those are two concessions I will not make.
How about a cowboy hat?
Rich Crage.
Never ended. Nothing happening. Nothing. 20 minutes.
You get the slow clap, sir.
20 minutes of the fucking spear.
Get him. Get him,
Through
Crage.
the barricade. And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening?
I am Joe. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's a crazy wrestling day. Crazy wrestling week. Crazy wrestling month. It's been this world of wrestling, man. It doesn't slow down.
Is it a crazy wrestling day?
I think it is. I think there's just a lot going on. I mean, I look at our run sheet and I'm like, man, we got a lot to cover here. We got a lot to cover. I could tell because on Monday you're like, here's what we're covering this week or whatever. And even that was like audacious because I think we had Fantastica Mania on that original list. And that would have been like us reviewing 4 shows, talking about Dynamite. A Janelle Grant thing happened this week, and I think a lot of people completely glossed over it. I glossed over it on the notes. We obviously have to talk about that. It just felt like there was a lot of stuff coming up, and I don't know. It feels like we're only scratching the surface of what's going on in the wrestling world right now.
We could just review Raw if you want.
Let's do it, yeah. So Bronson Reed came out, and then he faced Sheamus, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. I had it slightly on in the background when I was playing NCAA 25. I paid for the early release of that. Cracked open the wallet.
Did you really watch Raw this week?
I had it on in the background, yes, because I was playing the game and I just like I thought it was going to take longer to install, so I was like, you know what, I'll throw on the Raw, and had it on the laptop next to me, and yeah, kind of a bad show. Yeah, not great. Not a great show. Not a great wrestling show, but not for me. For somebody it is, but
no. Decidedly not for me. No.
What happened on WWE? I watched it 3 days ago. I don't remember.
You watched it and you don't know
4
what
days
happened?
ago. I don't recall all the beats. I don't remember all the story beats that came on. I know the Wyatt Six did something that was,
Well, didn't Rowan have the emotional interview?
Yes. Sheamus and Bronson Reed. I said that earlier, so I do remember that match happening. It was a professional wrestling match. Then Sonya Deville defeated Selena Vega, and then Selena did a tweet about how she needs more opportunities, cry face, and then Charlie Girl controller emoji retweeted it. So, yeah, okay, great. Damian Priest and Braun Strowman had a match that I'm telling you, Joe, not great. Then Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark faced Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Then main event Jey Uso in the semi-main event here against Dom Mysterio. And then Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov went to a no contest in the main event. Just to let you know, Cage Match has this Raw at a 6.21, and several of the matches are below 5. So, yeah, that's how Raw was this week.
If Cage Match has it at 6.21, it was probably awful. It had to be a terrible show.
Yeah.
Terrible. Irredeemably bad. What's the old Heat Wave sitting at a couple weeks at now?
Let's see what Heat Wave's at since I'm on the Cage Match right now. Let's see, because it was charting as the 25th best wrestling show of all time for a while there.
Something ridiculous.
9.09 still, so it is
level and awful.
It's lost some steam, but it's certainly not.
There's only one match over 9 at this point, and it's barely over 9. It's the main event's at 9.02.
Yeah, so we're leveling off a little bit.
The Kalani Jordan Sol Ruka match is now under 8.
Oh, it's plummeting. Yeah, it's plummeting, unfortunately.
Well, that means it's, by a 5-point scale, it's less than a 4-star match at this point. So I don't know. Things are, it takes some time, but looks like it's leveling off a little. I still contend that the Obafemi Wes Lee match, which is sitting at 8.13, that's the most overrated match on the show in my eyes. You liked that and you didn't like the main event, right?
Correct.
We were the opposite on those two.
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
I liked the main event and I didn't like Obafemi versus Wes Lee. We kind of agreed on the rest of it. Yeah, so look, 9.09, at least that doesn't make it like one of the 25 greatest shows in the history of the business.
Right,
so,
yes. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's all I ask.
So from that standpoint, where does that place it? Let's out of curiosity, let's see.
Do you want me to do that while I'm
it's
there?
still going to make us mad. But
yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Events. Where do I find this? I go to.
I think
events.
if you go to overview,
You
go events overview, and then
yeah,
top lists or something like that. I think.
Yeah, the top lists. Then you should be able to sort it from there.
Yeah. Let's see. People might hear a ding on their things when I look up Heatwave and it doesn't come up. But
oh, this is distressing. No, it's still the 42nd best show in the history of the business.
42nd, tied with NXT Takeover R Evolution. Man.
And Double or Nothing 2019.
Yeah, the inaugural Double or Nothing.
Let's compare it to this Takeover R Revolution.
I love Takeover R Evolution. We talked about this on the show. I remember it vividly.
All right, so we had Lucha Dragons versus the Vaudevillains. We had Baron Corbin versus Ty Dillinger in a 40-second squash. Ty Dillinger, of course,
current NXT superstar. Yeah, Ty Dillinger.
10 years later, still, Sean Spears. Finn Balor and Hideo Itami versus the Ascension. And then, obviously, the two matches that make the show, which would be Charlotte and Sasha Banks. Not the best of the 4 horsewomen NXT matches.
Very, very early on in their kind of runs or whatever. But a good match. I remember that being good at the time.
And then a legendary Sami Zayn versus Adrian Neville match.
Yes, which I love. I love that match.
So now that Zayn Neville match would easily be the best match on either of those two shows, I would say. It's better than anything on Heatwave, right? Like,
oh yeah.
You don't even need to debate that.
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. I think what's a more interesting comparison too is the Dynamite that's also rated 9.09. AEW Dynamite 171 from the Kia Forum, January 11th, 2023. Start off with a good little opener here. Hangman Adam Page versus Jon Moxley.
Yeah, I remember that match well.
Yep. Yeah. Followed up by Hook and Jack Perry versus The Firm of Big Bill and Lee Moriarty.
Yeah.
Then you have a little bit of a cool down.
Specifically, which means it wasn't very
yeah,
special.
I don't remember Hook and Jack Perry versus The Firm, but sure. A little cool down match. Everybody kind of, regather their thoughts after Adam Page and Jon Moxley. Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita.
I remember that well.
Fucking
very
great.
well.
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter versus Saraya and Toni Storm.
Okay.
And then match number 7 of the Trios title Best of 7 series, the Elite versus the Death Triangle. That's a pretty good show, Joe.
Yeah,
I like that episode of Dynamite.
Match. Yeah.
That's a good. That is my kind of Dynamite there. 3 matches, 4 stars plus from Dave Meltzer. I like that kind of Dynamite.
I don't. That final Best of 7 match was great, and Hangman Moxley was great. Danielson Takeshita was great. I don't know what else was on that show in terms of promos and angles and backstage stuff and everything, but that's clearly better than Heatwave. That was better than Heatwave. The Takeover, maybe not, because there was really nothing on it.
There was a lot of junk. There was a lot of undercard junk, and that's what those Takeovers were for a while.
Yeah, people have people sort of, I think, have a warped perception of what the Takeovers were. Now it did, at least the early ones. The early ones had a lot of junk on them. And then it hit a period where, all right, it was 5 matches and they were usually all very good or better. But those early ones was a lot of this, a lot of, nothing underneath and you'd get a great main event and maybe a great semi-main event. But outside of Zayn Neville, the Charlotte Sasha Banks match, again, that wasn't one of the super memorable.
It kind of set the
horsewomen.
template. It kind of set the template for what was coming in the later years, and
there are better ones to come.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think every single one of the four horsewomen had better matches than that one.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, Charlotte and Sasha have much better matches than that match. And there was nothing else on that show, so I don't know that Heatwave may have been a better show than that show. If we're being fair about it. And then it's also tied with Double or Nothing 2019. And okay, there is no fucking way Heatwave is on par with this show. Are you ready for this?
Well, I know, because I just recently reviewed parts of the show for Flagship Patreon.com. Change the World. I'm a new series rewatching some of the old AEW pay-per-views, but go ahead.
I mean, it had the Cody and Dustin Rhodes match,
Yes.
which might be the best match in AEW history.
It very well might be.
Contender.
Yeah, for sure. Would not argue. If that was your, and I think I even said it on the show, if this is your favorite AEW match still to this day, I can't argue you. I can't. Like, how could you possibly argue that if somebody told you that? It's impossible.
It had a great Young Bucks Lucha Brother match for the AAA tag team titles. And that was, even if that's not your style, if it is your style, that was a great match. That was, because I'm a little up and down on the Bucks sometimes, but that was a great match. And then the Jericho Kenny Omega main event, which was an excellent match as well. And the undercard was solid as hell.
That
So it
opener,
wasn't just
people
top
underrate
heavy.
that opener, because that's when Strong Hearts were still, a part of AEW and still hanging on there. SCU and Strong Hearts, you might think, no, I'm telling you, it rocked, because they were just bouncing. They were the debut match of the debut pay-per-view, so they went out there and they just fucking flew around and did a bunch of shit for 14 minutes. It's actually really, really good.
No, yeah, I remember that match. Yeah, and there was the 6-woman Joshi match, which everybody liked more than I did. Surprise, surprise. So, and then Best Friends versus Angelico and Jack Evans. And the 4-way women's match, I don't remember a thing about that match. Cage Match doesn't seem to like it, so I'll just assume it was bad.
Well, it began the historic tradition of the women's 4-way, though.
Oh, great. Thank
You
God
don't
for that.
remember that? It started the tradition.
The historic tradition, and
Of
honest to
having
God,
all of them being bad. Of every single one
I
of
don't
them being
remember
bad.
one of them. Can you name
No.
one, honestly, without looking them up?
No.
I can't remember one. But no, outside of that, and honestly, I don't even remember it. Everything on that show was good to great. There, obviously a much better show than that Heatwave show. But it's sliding though, Rich. It's sliding. We've gone
Nature's
from top
healing.
25 all time
Yeah, nature's healing.
to top 50 of all time. To get it out of the top 50, okay, it's got to drop to 9.02, which is not out of the realm of possibility that could happen, as all the fanatics seem to have done their voting. I'm looking at some of these shows, though, like below it in the top 50, and we don't have time to go through all these, but my God, what are we doing?
I know, I'm seeing some of these too, and it's like, we could do a whole segment where we just go, okay, Joe, let me go through, because for a while there, it was above One Night Stand 2005, which was just an affront to, like, all my sensibilities. And it's very close still. It's way too close for my comfort. But, yeah, the fact that it was bumping up against, like, it's just, let's not even be here all day.
Yeah.
Doing that.
So, Rich watched Raw, though. Rich enjoyed.
I watched Raw. That was my review, was meh. And then I listed all the results, and I went, eh. And that was it. Yeah. Oh, Mommy
Rich
came back, too. Mommy came back. Yeah.
Well, she's going to have a big match against Liv Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a big match. So, am I jacked up about it? No. But
Somebody is.
there's a lot of people are going to be into that.
Yeah, Mommy versus always on top Liv. Yeah, I can't wait.
Well, hopefully, hopefully Mommy has got her working shoes on.
Well, I think if Mommy, I don't know if she's fully healed just yet. I think that's one of the things. I think they brought her back a little early because she's not doing anything physical, and you can tell she's kind of still working around her arm.
She's been gone forever.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think what was it? I forget what it was, wrist or something like that. Oh no, she just got married, right? But she was hurt
they got
too.
married, but
Wasn't she also
she got hurt way before that.
Okay, maybe she's fine then. I don't remember.
Because remember they had to strip her of the title and everything. That was
yeah.
But what an injury. Jeez, if she's still, they're bringing her back early. But I don't know. You think they'll probably put that on SummerSlam?
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
Probably.
you just watched Raw. You should have your finger on the pulse.
I don't know. It's fucking Paul Levesque Raw. I don't know. Boring as fuck.
It was a perfectly mediocre 3-hour wrestling show, probably. If
Correct.
It was Levesque Raw.
Yeah. Very long entrances, very long promos.
Yeah.
There you go. So that
matches that you'll never remember 2 weeks from now. But there is a match you'll remember 2 weeks from now that happened this week.
Yeah.
In pro wrestling.
I don't know which one it is. There's a lot. There's a lot. What's your segue?
Your segue, Rich. Jeez, I'm setting you up for the opening segment here, and you're just not taking the...
I see where we're at. Well, actually, before we get to the actual Will Ospreay and MJF, even though that was a fantastic segue, and I hate to do that, but I don't know where else to plop this in the middle like we always... So, just going to do this. We always do our check-in on the Janelle Grant lawsuit, and this news came out this week, and I feel like just kind of got buried for a multitude of reasons. I think this is the same day that Cody did his interview, and that was all the rage as Cody says things about AEW. So that's the news cycle for the day or whatever. But Brandon Thurston and John Pollock, so Brandon Thurston obviously of WrestleNomics, John Pollock of Post Wrestling, they got to the bottom of this, and I'm just going to read exactly from postwrestling.com here. Quote, lawyers for Janelle Grant filed a pre-action discovery petition today against Dr. Carlin Kolker and his clinic, Peak Wellness, Inc. Grant, who is a former WWE employee, says that beginning around November of 2019, she was sent at the direction of Vince McMahon to Kolker's clinic in Greenwich, Connecticut, where she received treatments that weren't disclosed to her, including pills and IV infusions. Grant says when she asked Kolker about the substance of the pills she was being given, Kolker allegedly pushed back and questioned whether Grant trusted him. So there's some other stuff in here too about, Kolker being a quote routinely treating employees and talent of the World Wrestling Entertainment and some other different things like that. So people can read the more details if you want about that. But nothing else has come from that. I do know that the lawyers have chimed in. I think let's see here. Okay, spokesperson for Vince McMahon took issue with Grant taking legal action on Kolker while the federal lawsuit is on hold, because obviously the whole lawsuit is on hold. So, quote, Ms. Grant's petition for reaction discovery against Dr. Kolker is a direct violation of the court-ordered stay and nothing more than an attempt to generate publicity on her false allegations and to harass people connected to Mr. McMahon, who is being sued by Grant in a separate matter. The facts are that Mrs. Grant told Mr. McMahon she was fatigued and asked him to recommend a doctor. Ms. Grant called Dr. Kolker and became a patient of his. Her statement in the filing is inconsistent with her prior remarks. Ms. Grant has never had anything but good things to say about the doctor when speaking to Mr. McMahon and others about him. And I know that Grant's lawyers said, and Callis said, we did not violate a federal stay by filing a state action against a non-defendant. So that's where we are with that. How that relates to the whole McMahon thing and the whole WWE lawsuit, we'll see. But just another bit of news that I think kind of got lost this week with the multitude of other things going on in the world of wrestling.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Yeah, there's really nothing you can say there. We don't know. We'll have to see what comes out.
I don't know if what they did was against the rules or not. I
don't know. Yeah, to them, they're saying, well, this is a non-defendant and this is a separate thing. Even if it's sort of, yeah, I don't know. It's, I don't know. I don't know either. I don't know enough about law to know.
These lawyers don't even agree. How the hell am I supposed to?
Right. right. So we might. I know there's some people with law backgrounds in the chat room now, or they usually are listening live. So if they want to chime in, feel free. But as far as I know, I don't know. As far as I know, I don't know anything. So just passing that along because that is another bit of news regarding Janelle Grant, but nothing else big. In terms of that lawsuit. Okay, now let's get to your perfect segue about a match that I will never forget that just happened this week.
Well, it's not a perfect segue now because you blew it off
perfect.
And you did another story first.
It's a slightly perfect segue.
So no, it was.
It's a suboptimal. How about a suboptimal segue?
It was a great segue.
It was. Well, now it's suboptimal though.
You can utilize it.
I did utilize it. I'm sorry. Will Ospreay. MJF, this week's Dynamite. You did your Thursday Dynamite review a couple hours earlier over there at flagshippatreon.com, so people want to listen to that. Detailed thoughts about Ospreay and MJF. I think you went 40 minutes or something on just that match alone. I mean, almost more than half of your review was long. I don't know if it was quite 40 minutes, but I remember looking down at the timer and being like, man, he's got to get through the rest of the show in X amount of time. And then I realized, it's an hour, it was only an hour, and there were a lot of commercials, and there wasn't much to discuss about the rest of Dynamite. So you blew through it pretty good.
There were 3 matches on the show, Rich.
Right, exactly. So I was like, well, he's not going to need that much more time to get through the rest of Dynamite. But I thought MJF and Will Ospreay, obviously it's getting a lot of discussion, good, bad, positive, all over the place. I thought it was a phenomenal match. I thought to go 60 at the pace they went was amazing, because I've seen a lot of 60-minute matches, a lot. And I know everybody listening to this has seen 60-minute matches that do not have anywhere near the pace that these guys had, and was never really bogged down by very long rest holds or very obvious we're stalling for time segments. I mean, you could maybe say there was a couple of things here and there that they stretched out a little bit, going to the crowd or doing it. But I don't know. I never felt like, I knew that it was going 60, because when I watched it, I was already spoiled that it was, a nearly 60-minute match. So I knew going in it was 60, but I still, I wasn't bored. I was engaged the entire time, and I thought their work played up to the, the magnitude of the match, of it being Will versus MJF, it being one of the bigger matches that AEW can still do. And I thought both guys worked their asses off, and there was, that clear acts and, chapters of the match as well, where you have the beginning where they're both kind of, MJF thinks they're on equal footing, but they're not, because Will's got his number, and then MJF's like, fuck, I got to figure out what to do here. And then he starts kind of stalling a little bit more and getting out of the ring and trying to do that, realizing that he can't hang with Will the whole way. And then obviously he starts attacking the shoulder and the knee and that sort of stuff. So, I thought that was good. And then obviously you get to the final stretch, and I know some people had an issue with them starting to do a little bit of the, anything you can do, I can do better, and flipping out of the Hurricane Rana attempts or whatever, late into a match. But I don't know. I kind of thought that was cool. I kind of thought it's cool that these guys have been wrestling for 51 minutes, and now they're busting out this crazy stuff at the end and still, showing their athletic ability and their cardio ability after 51 minutes or whatever. And then, the finish is what a lot of people are going to, bring up, and 2 parts of the finish obviously is Will, attempting to do the Tiger Driver, having the crisis of conscience, which I've talked about many, many times. I hate this story. I don't like the story at all, but I thought in the context of the way it was on this match, I don't like it's one of these things where I don't like the story. You always say it, you can tell a good story, and you can tell a story, but I don't have to like it, or I don't have to think it's a good story, just if you're telling a story the right way. And they're telling this Tiger Driver story the right way. I just don't like it. And I think it's kind of ludicrous. And I think it's also silly, too, that they're kind of retconning that Will hesitated against Swerve when he really didn't hesitate against Swerve. He did the move, and Swerve just reversed out of it. And then I think they decided, shit, we want him to pretend like he's hesitating. So now we're just pretending he's hesitating on the move or whatever. And we've talked about it time and time again, about that if he put Bryan Danielson out and Danielson was still out, or Danielson only came back last week, or we got videos of Danielson at the doctor, or we got, we didn't know. Maybe we didn't know what was going on with Danielson. He's been gone for a while. We haven't heard anything. He's going to check at doctors and figure out if he can ever wrestle again. That sort of stuff. If anything was done with any sort of magnitude with the Danielson thing, then this story would be a little bit better. But this guy is shivering and shuddering at the fact that he has to do this move that injured Bryan Danielson, but Bryan Danielson came back 3 weeks later, and he's better than ever. He's going to main event Wembley and for the world title, so he's thriving. Bryan Danielson's thriving right now, so it's yes, he during Danielson's matches he's grabbing his neck and he's doing the sell thing, but the guy's going to main event Wembley. It's not like he took him out or he really destroyed Bryan Danielson's career. Danielson's on an incredible run right now, and on his way to challenge for the world title. So I always hated that aspect of it, but in a vacuum, the way that they told it, I don't have a huge issue with. I just don't like the overall story. I just think the overall story kind of sucks. And then obviously you have MJF hitting the diamond ring, ref bump, that sort of stuff. I don't mind that, to be honest. I know that a lot of people are going to get, I watched for 59 minutes and 58 seconds, and then they used the diamond ring and cheated to win. And it's nice MJF, man. I don't know. That's kind of the gimmick, right? Isn't that kind of what MJF is supposed to be? He's a chicken shit asshole that we talked about a lot of times. Is the thing with MJF and the overarching character arc before last year, whatever the fuck last year was, we'll just remove that from our brains. The overall MJF story has always been that this guy is supremely confident, but also supremely insecure. and always needed help, always needed the ring or Wardlow or whatever to get to where he was going to get to, and to get all of his wins and do all these things. He kind of needed to cheat and use these backhanded tactics, and that's kind of the heat on the guy, is that he's a tremendous wrestler. You know he's good. You understand he's good. He understands he's good. He understands he's confident, but he still lacks a little bit of that full confidence to just do it. And you always said, like, you would have him not win the title for years and years and years and years, because he could always get to that level and then not be able to do it. But obviously they haven't done that. He was the champion and all that stuff. But I don't know. I didn't hate the Diamond Ring finish. I didn't hate the ref bump, because I think also it's TV. And if this was done on a pay-per-view, I'd probably hate it a little bit more. If this was the main event of Wembley, I'd hate that finish a lot. But if it's the opener on a Dynamite 250 and they go an hour, like I can't get too upset about that, when the obvious idea is that the heat is supposed to be on MJF, that he wrestled this entire match and then he cheated at the last second and won, and now you want to see Will Ospreay get his hands on him, and you want to see Daniel Garcia get his hands on him. That's kind of what you want. That's the heat of wrestling. So if Will just beat him, it's like, okay, there's not much left to do there. So MJF, cheating to defeat Will with a couple seconds left to go on the clock, I think is a good finish for what the long-term story is going to be there. So yeah, I had no issues with the finishes, and I love the match. And one thing that and then I'll kind of give your last thoughts here. I know you gave a ton of thoughts on the Thursday Dynamite review, but one thing that I always am stressing now when I'm doing this Change the World series on flagshippatreon.com, and I keep writing in my notes, I talked about it a lot on the first show because of Cody versus Dustin. I said what AEW used to seem like they were doing and did from day one and could do all the time, and they did here, is matches that we can do that they can't. And Cody versus Dustin was a match on the first pay-per-view, the first show of AEW, that they could do, AEW could do, that the other guys couldn't do. WWE would never do a match like that. WWE would not do a bloodbath of Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. Not at that time. Not in 2019. They weren't even doing blood at that time. That was when they were doing the no blood thing. They had a chance to do Cody versus Dustin. They did. And it was Stardust versus Goldust, and it sucked. It has like a 3.2 on Cage Match. It was a fucking terrible match or whatever. So AEW says, you know what? We're going to do something that they couldn't do, and they would never do. And that's, we're going to have these two brothers go in here, have a no bullshit, feud, and just beat the living shit out of each other until we're just bleeding buckets. What we can do that they can't. And this was another example on Dynamite here, starting the show off right out of the gates. The show opens from fucking Big Bang Theory. We fade up, and MJF's on his way to the ring. We're starting a match already, and we're going to go a fucking hour of wrestling. We're going to give you an hour of wrestling to start off our show. No bullshit, no intro. We're just going right to it. Here's MJF in the ring. Here's a match. Let's go. That's something that AEW can do that WWE cannot and will not do. And that is more times that they can do that, and more times in the room, that can be on that whiteboard that we always talk about, where it says, what can we do that they can't? MJF and Will Ospreay going 60 minutes to start off your show is something you can do that they can't, and they wouldn't, because who on that roster, who on the WWE roster can go 60 minutes? Who if they open up Raw next week, what if Paul Levesque said, you know what, God damn it, we got to do this. We got to match them. We're going to go 60 right out of the gates, first hour of Raw. Who the fuck would you choose on the Raw roster to go 60 minutes and have a match even in the same magnitude as Will versus MJF? Could you even do it too? I mean, Ilya Dragunov and I don't know. Can you imagine Ilya Dragunov in a 60-minute match doing his fucking faces for 60 minutes? Like,
I don't think his style is conducive to 60 minutes either, though. I mean, he wrestles a hard physical style. He'd have to really change his pacing and all that. And these guys went out there and just worked the pace of a 20-minute match for 60 minutes, which was what I thought was the most impressive thing about the match. The rest of your thoughts basically mirror exactly what I thought and exactly what I said on the Dynamite review on the Behind the Paywall $5 tier. Subscribe now. I'm far more lenient when it comes to television finishes than I am with pay-per-view finishes. It's TV is episodic TV. You're telling stories. You're going from week to week. On pay-per-views, I think when people are paying to watch the match and people are paying higher ticket prices and all those things, typically that's where you want to finish your stories, give people payoffs, those sorts of things. Not always, but a lot of the time. So I'm more lenient with television finishes. And I think that Ospreay is probably going to win the title back before Wembley. It just makes more sense because I think that they'll do a rematch, and I think Daniel Garcia will prevent MJF from cheating again, and Ospreay will win the title back fair and square, and Garcia's big return will then lead to MJF versus Garcia in Wembley, and which now feels like an enormous match, by the way. I mean, that feels like just an enormous match, and it's gonna elevate Garcia. I mean, Garcia is going to be elevated out of this. And I told people for a year, don't worry about Garcia. Don't worry about all of him losing all the time on TV. They believe in him, and they're going to attempt to elevate him at some point. That was guaranteed. And now it's happening. And then we'll go right back to the Ospreay Pac match for the international title, because I don't think Pac MJF makes sense. And then where does that leave Ospreay? So he's probably going to win the title back between now and I would suspect that Garcia will have something to do with it. So anyway, my point is, I agree with you. I am far more lenient on television finishes of doing like a ref bump, heel finish.
I also don't think it's like a cheap finish, because I mean, we all kind of know. I mean, obviously the follow-up is going to be important, but we know it wasn't just let's do a cheap finish to get out of it. It's clearly building up more of this story here.
Yeah, exactly.
They went to the almost limit. And MJF, at the absolute last chance, decided, all right, fuck this. I'm just going to use the ring and get out of this and cheat. And now Will has a claim to to get a rematch if and when he wants. And like you said, it also leaves open the Garcia coming back and stopping him and stuff. So there's a lot. There's a lot of stories you can tell that branch off it. It wasn't just literally that, well, okay, we have no idea what we're going to do for the finish here, so let's just have MJF put his feet on the ropes and then run away with the title type of thing.
No, and like you said, that's the heat with MJF anyway. So. He's a guy who, with the facade of confidence, but really he's insecure and feels like he has to do these things to win. So, I had a bigger problem with all the melodrama with the Tiger Driver 91 for all the reasons, again, that you laid out. I mean, we're on the same page with that too. I hate it. But at the end of the day, I do concede that it's going to build to an enormous spot at some point that's going to blow the roof off of some building where he finally hits it. And, that's what they're choosing to do with this. It's going to impede and get in the way of all of his other matches until we get to that point. And I don't know who he's going to hit it on. Maybe it'll be to win the world title. Maybe it'll be on MJF because he's, such a piece of shit in the canon, or maybe it'll be, I don't know when they're going to do it, but he's going to do it at some point, and it's going to hopefully be at the right time. It's going to get a big pop, and we're going to move along. It's got to be against some evil heel. So you would think it'll be against MJF at some point, but who knows? But that's, but I hate it. I hate that it's getting in the way. It's integral to the finish of all of his matches now, and it sucks. And I don't like it either. The match itself was just an incredible display of athleticism and stamina. They worked a super hard pace. I never once felt that it wasn't like a typical 60-minute match where you knew 10 minutes in they were going 60. It wasn't that at all. Now, eventually, it did reach a point where it's like, all right, they've been wrestling 40 minutes. I think
right, yeah. Like I was like 35. I was like, all right, we're going Broadway.
But it wasn't. It wasn't the typical tip off of these two guys are wrestling outside of their normal pace, so they're obviously going. You see that so often with these 60-minute matches. And they end up tipping it off. It's like, oh, when does so and so grab a side headlock? And
it's always the side headlock, and the
always.
And then the guy kind of gets out of the side headlock, and then he drags it back to the mat, and it's like, okay, this thing's going to 60 for sure.
Yeah, you're like, this guy doesn't normally wrestle this way, so something's up here, and then it ends up tipping you off. No, their pacing was just phenomenal. I mean, these two guys are in just such tremendous shape, and in tremendous wrestling shape, and the work I thought was great. I mean, and everyone always hyper focuses on Will Ospreay. There was another guy in this match, and I thought he was right there, and he hung with Will Ospreay just fine. I mean, he didn't look out of place. MJF. I mean, he too is he's one of the best wrestlers in the world.
He's great. Yeah, we're done with any like sort of argument about like mid JF and like this guy's not a good worker. Like he's a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah, I don't know. He's really great, and he really knows. He really fills the time between the moves better than almost anyone in the business.
He does in terms of reacting to the crowd, rolling out of the ring. He's really good at timing the rolls out of the ring too, which is like, it seems so simple and so basic or whatever, but a lot of people don't know how to kind of fill that. Like I said, they don't know how to fill that time. They do a bump, they do a move, and it's like, all right, I just kind of sit around, or I just kind of stand up and look, or we don't fill time. We go to the next move, we go to the next thing or whatever. But yeah, MJF is very good at looking at the camera, looking at the crowd, gesturing, sometimes to a comical degree. I get that. Sometimes he does a little too over the top or whatever.
He overdoes it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
The theater kid comes out and he does overdo it. The example I gave behind the paywall was at the end of the match with the oxygen mask and his eyes are rolling in the back of his head. Right. And he overdoes it. And then it kind of takes you out of it. But in general, it's not even so much the things that you're noting. It's also the little subtle things, just the way he carries himself and his mannerisms. He knows how to fill every second in a match in a way that not even other great wrestlers struggle with that sort of thing. He's just very good. And he made it a point to make sure that he referenced Daniel Garcia, a couple different times, because he's a central part of this story. And it's important to not let people forget that this is in a lot of ways all about Daniel Garcia. Right. And that, so that was important. And, in terms of the work, I mean, MJF's execution just always seems to just get better and better. And this is not and he's still in his mid-20s, and this is not someone who's working 150 dates a year on the road either. He's working that limited AEW schedule and still just constantly improves. And Will Ospreay, what can you say? I mean, I firmly believe he's been the best wrestler in the world for the last 5 years or so. I think he's an all-time great at this point. But I do also think that I'm comfortable saying that there is just so much over-analysis when it comes to Will Ospreay and hyper-criticism that at this point it's gotten boring. I mean, and I get why, because there's so many people who say things like I just said, right? And will tell you how great he is.
Right.
So the people who don't think he's so great feel like they have to counter that. And then it just becomes this, every time he wrestles a match, it's like we have to have this whole new referendum on his ability. And it's so tiresome, and he's the only wrestler I think that faces that. And I can't think of another wrestler historically where every time they have a match, we have to reassess the person's ability the way that we do with Will Ospreay. The hyper criticism with him is just insane. The hyper analysis, the over analysis of him is just insane. There's always this magnifying glass on every fucking match this guy has. And then God forbid he doesn't sell a limb for 8 seconds in a match where the rest of his selling is impeccable. Then, we're all reassessing. It's crazy, and to me at this point, it's boring. I mean, can we all just move on to somebody else?
Well, we've been doing it. I mean, God, there's a lot of people that are probably maybe somewhat new to, to this, but for us, Jesus Christ, man, we've been doing this since the literal first day we saw this guy, and people were doing the referendums on him. And at times there were legit criticisms. Absolutely. And legit criticisms that I'm sure he read, and I know that he took to heart. There was the Will's not selling enough era. Remember when he first debuted and he wasn't selling enough, and everybody said, oh, he's not selling enough. And that's true. He really wasn't selling enough. So then he decided, okay, I'm going to start selling. And his quote unquote selling was he just yelled. Remember, he just yelled. There was that era of Ospreay where he just yelled. And then it was like, all right, that's not it, pal. And then he kind of learned and adapted. But the problem is we've seen his entire career play out in front of us. We've had access to his entire career from the moment he debuted until today. We've been able to see his entire career. And as that has gone on, like, people do regard him very highly. You just said one of the best professional wrestlers of all time. I voted him in the FSM 50 number one, I think, every one of the last 5 years or whatever. As long as we've been doing it, I voted him number one every single year. Every single time he's been my number one. And yeah, I think that the fact that, like, we're seeing his career play out in real time, and he's been, given the accolades and has been given the high praise, that you have to sort of defend your side if you don't think he's very good. So then we just kind of poke holes in everything he does, and that's kind of the thing. But then nobody seems to enjoy any of his matches because it's just like, all right, let's crack our knuckles and have an Ospreay war again. And it's like, God damn it.
Well,
like,
yeah.
It's so annoying. Like, we have to do this.
What
we have to do this. Other people have to do their thing, and it's annoying.
Will Ospreay has a match, and then we all have to reassess his abilities again. It happens every single time, and it's just, and there's other reasons for it too. He's sort of become a central figure in this stupid tribalism war too, because there's obvious insecurity with the WWE fans when it comes to Will Ospreay, because so many of the, for lack of a better term, non-WWE fans consider him to be the best wrestler in the world, and the WWE fans take offense to that because he doesn't wrestle for their team. So there's that aspect that gets thrown into it too. So, you know, they're always trying to slag off on him, or he's just such a lightning rod for this stuff. And I think that, you know, reputations are hard to shake. And early in his career, you know, a lot of the criticisms were more than valid. I mean, we've been talking about this guy for almost a decade now. But it's just, I think for some people, because he's been almost the avatar for what's wrong with modern wrestling, like he's been, you know, when people talk about why they don't like modern wrestling, they always, for years, used him as the example. I think it's hard for those people to come around on the idea that he's improved at a lot of those things that he used to be bad at. And they have trouble reconciling that, right? And I think it's hard for people to admit that he's really great at a lot of the things that he was legitimately lacking years ago, when people were saying, hey, this guy has a chance to be something really special if he cleans up this and he cleans up that, and he did. And he's been such a better wrestler since he's become a heavyweight, and he's improved his promos. He's improved so many parts of his game, his selling. And I think there's a lot of people whose feet are just in cement, and they just refuse to come around, and they have a hard time reconciling with the fact that this guy who they held up as this shining example of what people who didn't know what they were talking about viewed as a good wrestler is actually a really good wrestler now. And I think there's a lot of people who struggle with that. And again, you know, in sports, it's the same thing. It's like there's nothing harder to shake than a reputation sometimes. And I think that and when you toss in the fact that a lot of people didn't like him personally and all of that stuff, and it's just this stew of, you know, it's like people just refute. It's ingrained in them to knock the guy, right? And then there's other people who have come around on him and have admitted, all right, yeah, he's better than he used to be. And they may not be as high on him as people like me or you are, right? But there are so many people who made up their minds about this guy before he was a finished product, and they're never coming off of it. Rich, they're never coming off of it. Okay. But what's annoying to me is not so much that, it's the fact that we have to reassess this guy's abilities every time he has a match. It's just so tiresome at this point. You know, I don't, you know, you can nitpick his performance last night, and I don't think that was a perfect Will Ospreay performance last night. Okay. And I'm someone who has probably seen conservatively 90% of the matches he's had on tape over the last 6 to 7 years. You think that's fair? I mean, how many have I not seen? I mean, I've at least seen 90% of the matches he's had. So I don't think there's many people other than maybe Will Ospreay himself who have seen more Will Ospreay matches than I have. Okay. But, you know, and I've seen his growth, and I don't, you know, that performance last night, if you think that was a bad pro wrestling performance, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you necessarily if you're acting in good faith that you're wrong, but we will never see wrestling eye to eye. I can say that much. I can say that much if you thought he was bad last night, because that was a great performance, even if I didn't think it was peak Will Ospreay. You know, I don't know how you can sell a body part better than he sold that shoulder. I don't know how you can do it. I mean, he never ignored it. He never forgot about it. You know, he was selling it while he was doing moves. Were there some minor issues with his exhaustion or progressive selling and running through stuff at the end of the match? Yeah, but that's also how people work now.
Right.
I
And
mean,
particularly him. That's kind of how he works, and that's kind of his.
Now, I've seen him. Now, listen, he doesn't always. Now, there's times where he even nails that. I mean, that spot in the Swerve Strickland match where he was just dead on his feet but wouldn't give up, and he tried to throw that pathetic hidden blade. That's like an iconic spot. You know, that was incredible. You know, and Swerve just kind of caught him and shook his head and said, man, this guy just won't admit that he's done. And then he just kicked him in the head and beat him. And you know, and I've seen plenty of Ospreay matches long Ospreay matches where by the end of it, He's not as crisp and as sharp as he is in the first minute, right? But last night's match, him and MJF, they decided to do the Malenko Guerrero spots, and they decided to go tit for tat towards the end and go for flash pins and whatnot. But I mean, look, it was a great match, and he's an imperfect, but he's a great wrestler. And I don't know, I'm just getting increasingly bored with every time he has a match, it has to be a 3-day long debate over the merits of his work. We don't do this with anyone else.
There's nobody else. Yeah. You brought
There's
up in our
no
Discord,
other wrestler in the world that people do this with.
Yeah, nobody else like sits down and watches. No one's going to sit down and watch SummerSlam and then write a 4-paragraph soliloquy about Will Ospreay's selling for a Jey Uso match or whatever. And for the record, I like when people discuss wrestling. I'm not saying that I don't. We always talk about we like people talking ball and stuff. That's great, but like Will seems to get it, like you said, to a way, way, way higher degree than a lot of other people get it, and it just causes a 3-4 day news cycle of people reacting to Will Ospreay and okay, well, he's just not my kind of wrestler. I'm telling you that. Okay, we got it. You know what I mean? It's like it happens every single time, and it's nobody has the microscope on anybody else
that gets this hyper analyzed. I can't think of a wrestler that is this hyper analyzed every time they have a match. I can't think of one ever. And I've been at this a long time. And I've been in deep, nerdy wrestling online circles even longer than that. And I cannot think of a wrestler who gets this hyper. Do people do this for Mystico every Friday?
No.
I mean, and even great wrestlers. I mean,
there was a while we got it for Okada. And I think a lot of it is these great all-time great wrestlers having their all-time great runs in the era of social media. And there's very few guys you can say. There's a Kenny Omega. There was many referendums on Kenny Omega. Eventually, I think most people have just kind of figured out, okay, this guy's pretty good or whatever. But there were certainly Kenny Omega referendum, debates all the time. There were Okada ones, and I think there were Ospreay ones. Ospreay way more than those other guys, and the Ospreay ones are still happening. Because obviously he's still great.
I mean, look at other huge stars and great wrestlers. Do people do this to Cody?
No.
Do they do it to Seth Rollins?
Oh God, no.
How about Gunther? Do we break
never.
down Gunther every time he wrestles a match and hyper analyze his every minute detail of his selling? It doesn't happen. It's only this guy, and I think it's for those combination of factors that I talked about before. Like some of that's going to come with the guy that has been anointed by so many as the best in the world, right? That's going to come with that. Some of it's going to come with he plays for the wrong team, okay? And it's going to come with that. Some of that's going to come with there's a lot of people who never liked the guy as a person because of some, mistakes that he made or some perceived mistakes that he made when he was younger, right? And they want to take him down because they don't like him. And that's kind of the era of social media we're in. There's a million factors, but they all add up to, I've never seen a wrestler that people were so hypercritical or hyper analytical of as him. And it's not just the people who think he's bad. The people who think he's good contribute to it too, because both sides feel like they need to overcorrect the other, right? So you see this, this overt praise to try to counter what they perceive as the overt criticisms. So, and I know that Matt D from Saguna Keita wrote a tweet earlier today talking about Ospreay selling in the match, a tweet that I largely agreed with. I agreed with almost everything he wrote in that tweet.
And well written. That's a guy who knows how to talk ball and has been talking ball for decades.
Yeah, and not someone certainly that I see eye to eye on all the time when it comes to our sensibilities about pro wrestling, but what he wrote about Will Ospreay today, I largely agreed with the exception of, he basically wrote about the 4 tenets of selling, right? There's 4 basic ways that you sell in a match. And he basically praised the majority of Will Ospreay's performance last night, saying that he nailed the first 3, although he did put a little asterisk next to the 3rd tenet of selling, which is the selling of basically the selling of a body part. He thought that Will's selling of the shoulder, while Will paid attention to the shoulder throughout the whole match, he thought it was a little performative and box checking, style of selling. Like,
Okay.
I have to do this but I disagree with that. I thought Will's selling of the shoulder was just good, solid selling of the shoulder.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I didn't
him-
like was the doctor coming down and doing. I don't need that stuff. I am so over ringside doctor walking up to check on the guy. I'm done with that. I want that. That's got to go the way of ladders and go away for like 6 or 7 months or maybe a year. Let's do a year. No doctors.
Yeah. So he gave him credit for selling for never forgetting about the shoulder, but he said it was a little box checky. And that's a minor disagreement. I thought he did a great job selling the shoulder, but where he said Will was the fourth tenet of selling, which is the progressive. Like when I talk about that, I talk about selling exhaustion, selling at the end of the match more than you would sell towards the beginning of the match. He felt like last night Ospreay kind of ran through spots at the end of the match instead of selling the progressive damage and the overall exhaustion of the match. So, but otherwise he praised his efforts, and based on me having read his reviews for all of these years, I knew that he was praising him while also offering a bit of criticism, which, okay, but like the worst place he could have put that was Twitter.
Oh yeah, because then everybody, then both sides mobilized and. He was being told to touch grass, and then, actually, Will's the worst wrestler ever. I agree. And it's like, that's not what he's saying. You didn't read anything.
You're not reading. Say that. Like, he wasn't, then it's just memes and GIFs and people dunking on him.
You're right, Joe. Twitter fucking sucks, and everybody should delete the app immediately. Please. Dear God, delete this app.
And more, even more than that, you're speaking to people who aren't speaking your language. They don't you know what I mean? And then you get, the touch grass people. Who cares this much about wrestling? All right, well, maybe you don't, but there's people who do, and they do approach it, from a thoughtful way, And again, I'm not someone who agrees with a lot of his reviews, but fuck, man, he's one of the. There's some of the few people that are still analyzing this stuff that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that podcast with Bix this week on the Between the Sheets feed, talking about wrestling media, and one of the things that I talked about was nobody talks ball anymore. It's either content creators just praising everything, or there's no money in doing those types of thinking man's reviews, but no one's talking ball anymore. So, we need to, appreciate the people that still do it. I think we all need to do a better job doing it, kind of like we're doing right now, in breaking down this match. But yeah, it's, I don't know what point I was making there. I guess I was just wrapping up the idea that, and it's funny because you see people talking about this match, and to hammer home my point that Ospreay is the most overanalyzed, hyper critiqued wrestler around. You see everybody talking about this match. Is anyone talking about MJF and his performance?
No.
I mean, it's a rhetorical question. They're not.
But they're not. Yeah,
and he was the other guy in the match, and no one's talking about him.
Yeah.
It's always Ospreay. There was another guy in this match and who was, to me, just as good as Will was, and no one's talking about him. Is anyone hyper analyzing? No disrespect to Matt D, who again had some great thoughts, but who's hyper analyzing MJF selling in that match? Who's doing that? Nobody.
Well, to your point too,
people only do this to Will.
Yeah, because there was a time when Omega, like I said, used to get this sort of treatment, but then when we had the Omega Ospreay matches, all of it went to Ospreay. Like everybody had just decided, okay, Omega's good now. We like it. Everybody likes him. But now it's like, oh, we got to talk about Will selling in this Omega Ospreay match. It's very strange, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. It's been 12 years now that we've been doing this with Will, so it's starting to get a bit exhausting here. But there you go. So that's
look, it was a great match, and the thing about it is the finish is very divisive, and I understand why, and I could see the finish ruining the match for people. I get it. It didn't ruin it for me. Did it take it down a notch? The Tiger Driver stuff, I mean, it might have taken it down a notch for me. I still thought it was a great match, though. The ring and the heel fit, I didn't mind that at all. Like what I thought it was a better match.
No, that was great. That's just a great pro wrestling finish for a heel.
Yeah, and they're gonna have another match, and it's not, this wasn't the blow off of the feud or anything like that, so I can live with it. But yeah, I get it if the finish hurt the match a lot for some people. And the commercial breaks, there's nothing you can do about that. Unfortunately, you can watch on Fight. That's what you can do. But, it's, that's just TV wrestling. You know what?
My God, we just got that match on free TV. What other show is giving you that match on free TV? It's okay that there's fucking commercials.
No, and I think you made a good point. And that's kind of like WWE they cannot give you what we got last night with that match, because not only would you struggle to find two people who can do it and go at that pace and all those things, but then you're also fighting against WWE house style and how they structure their matches. They wouldn't be able to work a match in that way, even if you find two people who can do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
It would have to be structured in a completely different way, because it's different fan bases who are looking for different things. And that was, in a lot of ways, that match, that was an old school slobber knocker pro wrestling match with some modern moves, is really what it was.
That could have been on a Clash of the Champions. That style of match could have been on a Clash of the Champions. Obviously, just a little more spectacular.
That weren't invented yet.
Yeah, they're doing some stuff that I don't think Flair, or Sting, or Steamboat could have done or whatever. But essentially, the way it was structured and the way it was paced or whatever, that is your classic, Ric Flair going 60, match that had happened, time and time again or whatever. And yeah, you can't. I mean, WWE could not. The way that they, people are throwing out names in our chat room, and all the names are like, okay. It was more of a rhetorical question versus the names, because the way that these people in that company work and the way that company works, they I don't know if they could sit down and be okay with two guys wrestling for 60 minutes on their television show and just saying, you know what, guys, 60 minutes go. Whether it's Gunther and Ilya, whether it's Cody and whoever, if it's, 60 minutes is a long time to do a wrestling match, and to keep it at a consistent pace and keep the crowd engaged and work through commercial breaks and do all that sort of stuff like that. It's not that easy. And the way, like you said, the way that they work their style, what the match would be like. It'd be very long and very arduous and a lot of headlocks and a lot of that sort of stuff. And it would be a lot of bells and whistles too. If they were going to do that way, they would go with, like, you look at Roman and Cody, that was a long match at WrestleMania, but they went very bells and very whistles heavy with that one, because that's kind of the way they tell their main event stories, is barricades and tables and interference and that sort of stuff. They're not going to just roll the ball out and let, two guys have a 60-minute match.
I don't even know what a Gunther Ilya Dragunov 60-minute match would look like.
They can't do, and that's a bad match for those guys. Anybody who brings that up, that's not what those guys are good at. Those guys are good at having the blitzing 18-minute matches. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't want them to go 60. I'd want them to beat the shit out of each other for 18. That's all wrong for those two. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think, and even if you identify two people, I just don't think the house style there is conducive to it. So you make a good point that this is the kind of thing that only AEW can give you on a major league American television level, and it goes back to a larger theme we always have with AEW. They should exemplify the things that only they can do, that WWE can't do, and leave the shit that WWE is great at to WWE. And that's something that we've been banging that drum in a million different ways for years now. And this is an example of one of those things where they can own something like this, like what we saw last night. And they've done it before. We saw Danielson and Hangman go 60 on Winter is Coming in December of 2021. That was a 60-minute match.
Yeah.
So, we've seen that. We've seen that sort of thing before from them. And you don't want to overdo it and do it all the time. It's kind of like the dog collar matches, right? That kind of became one of AEW's things, where every now and then they'll bust out the dog collars. Whether it's the Briscoes and FTR and ROH, or whether it's Punk and MJF, or whether it's, Cody and Brody Lee, every time they do a dog collar match, it becomes like this legendary match you'll never forget, because they don't overdo them. They don't have a pay-per-view where it's time to do the dog collar matches, every year in fucking June or whatever the fuck. No, they do dog collar matches when the feud demands it and when it's time to do a dog collar match, and then they always fucking rule. And again, WWE's not going to do that. They're not going to have dog collar bloodbaths. So that there's certain things that AEW can own.
What can we do that they can't? What can we do that they can't?
Exactly.
And that should be the ethos of the entire company all the time. What can we do that they
all
can't?
The time? That should be on the sign I talk about. That should be in the room. What can we do that they can't? You know what they can do? The brochachas. They can do that all day long. And, assorted other shit that AEW insists on doing that they shouldn't be doing. Focus on the shit that you can own. That can be your thing. So, anyway, it was a great match with a very controversial and divisive finish.
Speaking of controversial and divisive, Hangman Page lost to Bryan Danielson last week. So we recorded the Flagship, went live last Wednesday. So we didn't get a chance to talk about this, you and I, about the finish here. But I think there's been a lot of discussion about the decision to have Bryan Danielson defeat Hangman Page and move on the Owen tournament and obviously go to Wembley and go to All In to face Swerve. So now what do you make of the debate? Was it the right move? Like, where do you stand on Danielson over Hangman Page? Do you think this derails Hangman Page's run? Do you think this, hurts his start? There's a lot of stuff that's going on out there. A lot of people were really, really upset and really kind of getting, really digging in on how, poor this decision may have been and how this wasn't the right move. Where do you stand on Danielson over Hangman?
It's the right call. I know that's the unpopular opinion right now, but even your most ardent Hangman Page fans eventually will come around and agree with that. The fact that they're so emotional about it in the moment shows to me that it's the right call, because the here's why it's the right call. The Hangman Swerve program, that feud, that deal is, let's face it, it's really the through line of the entire promotion right now. It's the tentpole story in the company. All of the other stories are sort of built around Hangman eventually getting back in the ring with Swerve, right? So that will always be there. Danielson's story is right now. It's now or never. This is your last and maybe only chance, depending how things play out with his semi-retirement or whatever he's going to do when he quits full-time. This is really your best chance and maybe your last and only chance to do a massive main event world title match built around Bryan Danielson chasing your world title in the biggest building that you run. This is it. Swerve Hangman's not going anywhere. Not only is Swerve Hangman not going anywhere, it'll be better if they make you wait. What's the rush? What's the rush to do Swerve Hangman right now, right this second?
Oh, I would even in the Blood and Guts next week, I wouldn't have them. I would have something happen where you don't get them fully making content. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Rich, I've been saying that for a week.
Oh, I didn't notice. Yeah, but I love that. Yeah, I love that idea. Then go on then.
Yeah, they shouldn't touch in Blood and Guts.
No, absolutely not.
Based on the angle they just did last night, the show closing angle, where Hangman's music hit and he came out and he's like, I'm finally going to get my hands on Swerve. And then Okada yanks Swerve out of the ring, and then the other guys yank Hangman out of the ring. That gives me hope that that's the direction we're going here. You shouldn't even let these guys lay a finger on each other until the fans are at a near riot wanting it. This is the perfect story where you make them wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where you make them wait. And it'll be bigger the longer you make them wait, if you do it at the right time. You can't wait too long. There's always a risk.
It's tough. That's what's tough in wrestling, man.
We're not even close to that point yet. Okay? This is not the time. Look, Danielson, the time is now. Okay? There's already 41,000 tickets sold for that show. That show's already a success. And they're going to have over 50,000 in the building, more than likely. Right? Why would you burn off, even from a business standpoint, Hangman Swerve then, when you can keep building it and pop another house with it? This house is, you already made this house. This is already a $5 or $6 million gate as of today. If you don't sell another ticket, the time is now to do the Danielson match. And the Danielson match, with all that emotion that's going to be around it, and they have time to build. I don't want to hear about, oh, it's a cold match. They got time to build the match. That show's not till the end of August.
Yeah, we got a while, man. Yeah, we got a while. I think people think All In is at the end of July.
August.
Yeah, we got quite a while till All In.
And it's Bryan Danielson going for the world title in front of 50,000 people.
Yeah, I think we'll make that work. Cold? I think we can make that story work. Yeah, I think we can make that work. Yeah.
You're out of your mind if you think that's going to be cold. Okay? But the point here is, that's already a $5 or $6 million gate if you don't sell another ticket. And quite honestly, I like the idea in that a show of that scope and size, going with the Bryan Danielson story of going for the world title in his last year as a wrestler, right? And in that huge stadium, in front of that huge crowd, right? I kind of like that story better for that setting than the Hangman Swerve match, which is just going to be an all-out knockout brawl when it happens, because Hangman is so hell-bent on getting his hands on him. And this is all a better story anyway by not doing the match right away and having him lose to Danielson. Because, look, the only reason, and this is from a narrative standpoint, Hangman was only in that tournament because the Elite put him in the tournament, right?
Right.
Hangman doesn't even like the Elite, but he was willing to, but he's like, all right, this is a chance to get my hands on on Swerve. Hangman's whole deal is he's a maniacal, crazed, laser-focused maniac who wants nothing other than to get his hands on Swerve Strickland. And he'll do whatever it takes to get his hands on him. So he took the tournament spot. And he was willing to beat Jeff Jarrett within an inch of his life, right? But then he loses in the tournament, and he misses his chance to get his hands on Swerve. So then what does he do? He goes back to the Elite, who he told to kick rocks the week before when they asked him to be in Blood and Guts. And he said, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. Not because he likes the Elite, not because he wants to team with him. It's just because he wants to get his hands on Swerve.
Right. And that famous promo.
That's great. That is great storytelling. That is great booking.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I agree. And that promo that everybody, and I wrote a piece about it on flagshippatreon.com about is, amazing, unhinged promo and how it's just perfect pro wrestling. If you go back and listen to that promo, very little of it is about winning the AEW World Championship. Hangman Page is not saying, I want to win the Owen so I can win the AEW World Championship. He is saying, you've taken everything from me. I had to leave my house. You never paid for it. He never paid for it. He's going to pay. I'm going to get my hands on him. I gave them every damn thing I had, and they chose him. He never mentions it in my name, and I don't even know if he makes a reference to the title, because again, it's not about the title. The title's that'd be great if he won the title, but he wants to get his hands on and take Swerve away. He's always said, we talked about it during the three-way with Samoa Joe, that there's a lot of ways that you can do that finish, because Hangman just basically said, I don't care who wins. I just don't want you to win. You can't win the world title. I don't want you to have anything good anymore in your life. You've ruined my life, and I'm going to make it certain that you never get anything good in your life anymore. And then now he's coming back to this world where Swerve's the top guy and everybody loves him or whatever. And he's like, you motherfuckers, I had to leave my house. This guy did this. And you now like him and hate me. Okay. All right. I see how it is.
He's a self-righteous heel. Right. Technically he's a heel, but he thinks he's right, which is why he comes out of the babyface tunnel.
Right. Which, oh my God damn it. That is so good for this company that sometimes does stuff that just annoys the hell out of me.
They're
and there's no
this.
thoughts about it. Jeff Jarrett looking to the heel tunnel and Hangman coming from the babyface tunnel on that one Dynamite, the one against Danielson.
Yeah, where he was the
fucking
enforcer. Yeah.
Brilliant.
They are nailing this, and people want to ruin it by rushing to the match.
Right.
Relax. They're doing what a lot of people say they don't do and telling a great long-term story here. We'll get to that. There's plenty of time to get to Hangman getting his hands on Swerve. Make people wait. He didn't win the tournament. That's going to make him go even crazier, to the point where now, all right, fine, I'll team with the Elite because I can get my hands on him in Blood and Guts. Don't let him even touch Swerve in Blood and Guts. Drive him even crazier. Then the next time he has a chance, throw another roadblock in his way. Rich, I would dick tease this for months.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
This is money. This is money. I would dick tease this for months. I wouldn't do this match in 2024. You could argue you don't have to do this match till next year. if you're smart about it, you can string this out until 2025. We're already in July. We're more than halfway through the year. Don't let this guy put a finger on Swerve. And meanwhile, Swerve's just out there living his best life. He's the world champ. He's having other feuds. And
got
he
these
keeps
big smiles.
He's
got these big smiles. And I'm on top of the world, and everybody loves me. And Hangman's there seething, annoyed.
Because he can't get his hands on.
Connor Murphy brings up a great Taz Sabu.
Perfect.
They could have just on when did that feud? I mean, 1995, right? Is basically
over a year.
right. They could have just done it on November to Remember 19, whatever. Well, I forget the exact years or whatever. You would probably know a little bit better.
It was over a year. I was there. I was in the fucking building.
You were at every single one, so you might know the exact shows. But they could have just done that in 2 months and gotten it over with. But no, it was like, oh my God, when these two men are going to clash, my God, and their paths always just barely missed or just kind of missed or whatever until it finally came together. And it helped that Sabu was Sabu, so you were able to stretch the story out a little bit longer because he's Sabu. But then they finally did it, and it's like, yeah, there we go. It was worth the wait.
They saved it for the pay-per-view debut.
Mm-hmm. Barely legal. Yep.
Which in theory on paper was the right way to go about it. And I was in the building for the entire duration of that feud where they never fucking touched, and the lights would go out. And we'd all lose our fucking minds.
Tonight's
and
the
Sabu
night.
would come
Tonight's the night. It's gonna happen.
Tonight's the night. He's gonna fucking Sabu and he'd come out, and then they wouldn't fucking touch. And we were dying for it, salivating for it. Taz would wrestle Devin Storm, right? I'll never forget the night he wrestled Devin Storm.
Chokes his ass out.
And he put him in the T-bone, and he gave him the T-bone Tazplex over the top rope through a table. He picked up the mic and he said, "Fuck you, you Sabu wannabe," right? And because Devin Storm was a hot high flyer at the time.
Yeah, of course.
And then, and it just all these great. It was always about Taz needling Sabu and calling Sabu a pussy. And then sometimes the lights would go out, and sometimes Sabu would be there, and sometimes it was so. That is such a great comparison point to this. He should not touch that man in that blood and guts match. And if you're smart about this and you handle this properly, you can get away with him not getting his hands on him for months and months and months, and the match will be bigger because of it than if you just rushed into it and did it at Wembley where you don't even need it because you've sold 41,000 tickets already. You can maybe, if you're smart about this, build an enormous show around that match when it finally
that could be the main
happens.
event, main event, and sell all the tickets.
Yes, in a building you might not normally be able to run, and maybe, I don't know, sell some fucking tickets instead of just rushing into it. People they're not using their wrestling brain here. They're being emotional about it.
Which is good.
Emotional.
Which is, by the way, is good. That's good.
Which circles
you want
back
to
to
be
my
emotional.
original point.
Yes.
Which circles back to what I said at the top. That's how you know it's good that they didn't rush into the match, because it also reminds me of Naito losing to Okada in the Dome the first time. And the LIJ fans, that's a perfect example. And everything worked out so much better waiting a year. Okada had that legendary run and all the matches with Omega, and then Naito, who made the key mistake the first time, got to rectify it the next year. They ran the double dome. They made a shit ton more money over the course of that year. And with the double dome the next year than they would have made if they just rushed into Naito beating Okada immediately. Because they made people wait. And were people annoyed at first? Yeah. But they were emotional and they spent their money. Now, if you waited another year, maybe you would have missed the boat, right? But it was handled perfectly.
No, yeah, if they would have waited a year, they would have gotten into COVID too. Think about that. So they nailed exactly the right time. They would have been completely fucked if they waited another year. And that's what, a good booker, it's not easy. There's not an exact recipe of how to do this. We've seen it time and time again where you go too long, you wait too long, and you miss that book. That's why they're in the business. You know what I mean? That's why they're the booker. That's why you got the pencil. That's why it's a big deal to hit that peak and nail it exactly. It's not easy. You got to know. You got to sense, and you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan.
If you have a plan and build to it, then you have a plan and build. And I'm sure they have the end game, the destination in mind, and they're working backwards towards it. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this shouldn't be a shock to anyone who's paying attention. I personally believe the end resolution of this is another double turn. Hangman has to be the babyface when they eventually settle this thing. And Swerve has to be the heel. Swerve never earned the babyface turn. He broke into the guy's house and breathed on his fucking baby. He was never virtuous. He never did. And then he hung him by a chain. Hangman thinks he's right because he is right. And that's why people are behind him and emotional about it, even though technically he's a heel. Because he knows he's right. His fans knows he's right, right? Swerve, you know, in he's a babyface, but in this scenario, he's the heel. And when they finally have this match, they gotta, you know, they could either do a double turn in the match or a double turn when they finally do whatever. But this is going to be the best thing for Hangman is making people wait for this and letting this story play out properly rather than just rushing into a match. Because then what? All of that intrigue is gone once they already, yeah, you could have another match and you could do 3, but these guys already wrestled 3 times. The intrigue now is keeping them apart. That's the key. The key is keeping them apart to build anticipation for the match and to build anticipation. Oh, is this when Hangman's finally going to get his hands on him? Oh, no, he got fucked again. He's going even crazier. I mean, this is the kind of shit. This is classic pro wrestling.
Yeah, people just want
This
that
is the kind of shit
immediate.
that gets
They
me
want that
excited.
immediate thing that makes them feel good in that moment. Then they can move on to the next thing that feels them good in the moment. But you know what? Savor this. You know what I mean? A good long-term story. There's nothing better in pro wrestling than a good long-term story that you see all the way through, and then when it lands, it's fucking phenomenal. You know, but people want that immediate satisfaction because we're reactionary. We want to react to the reaction and get online and argue, and we can't. You know, we've kind of lost that ability to just kind of sit back and say, all right, let's see what this journey takes us on.
I also think it's because Hangman Page has this unique thing where his fans are very emotional about
Yes.
which is good, which is you use that.
Right.
You use that against them and you leverage it and you tell a story like this. That's exactly, he's the perfect guy to do this with. Same thing with Naito. The parallels are amazing between him and Naito. Because again, the Naito fans are very emotional about Naito. They're very much invested in Naito, especially at that time. So he was the perfect guy to do that dick tease with the first year. And then to stretch it out and then make more money off it and make more money off of Okada being it's the same thing. You stretch this out. You don't rush into it. You don't go for the instant gratification because this isn't an instant gratification story. This man has to be tortured. He has to be tortured for the story to work properly. To work to its most effectiveness, he needs more torture.
Mm-hmm. He's also the main character of AEW.
Which you know I love these kind of stories.
Oh, yeah. You love it. You want Sami Zayn to never win a match ever in his entire life, or he never win a big match. Every single time there's a big match for El Generico / Sami Zayn, you want him to get there and then lose, get there and lose, get there and lose, get there and lose.
Tommy Dreamer should have never beaten Raven.
Yeah.
Ever.
If you were
Tommy
booking,
Dreamer
MJF would have never been the world champion. It'd be 2027, and he'd go, all right, here's my 5th chance at the title. I'm gonna do it tonight, and then not do it again.
That one's a little different because the MJF scenario. That's a heel.
Yeah.
That one's a little different. That's just a cocky.
You
heel.
like the tortured babyface.
I love tortured baby faces because there's so much money in it, and what it does is it brings out real emotion in fans. And that's where money is an emotion, right? Personal issues draw money. You know, Jerry Jarrett pointing at the fucking sign. I love a tortured.
The side's great.
I love a literal sign.
You think that sign's in the room? You think that sign's in the room? It better be in the fucking room. They put that thing in the room.
Heat and hate, personal issues. And this is a personal issue with a wrestler who has a lot of emotional fans who are invested in him and live and die with how he's booked. He's the perfect guy to do this with. And Bryan Danielson chasing that title in what the story is, his last full... Now, no one buys that he's retiring.
No.
And he even says he's only retiring full time. But the story, that's the perfect placeholder to stick that in there because, my God, how can you not be into that? The idea of Bryan Danielson in Wembley, maybe his last chance to win a world title. They're going to push it as his last chance to win a world title. And it probably will be because I doubt he even wants this match. You know what I mean? He probably had to be fucking forced into it.
Oh, and he wants to lose. But yeah, he is going to demand that he
wants
loses.
To lose.
Yeah,
I don't know
he's
that he will.
demanding that he's going to lose. Yeah, he might win, but he's going to demand that he loses. I'm sure of it.
But I mean, that's going to be so great.
People in Wembley singing along to Final Countdown. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Oh my God! See, this is why I say if you're a Hangman fan and you're losing your mind over this, tranquilo. Circle it back to night, though, tranquilo. It's all going to work out, and they're doing all of this the right way. You're going to get the big Danielson match, which everyone's going to love. Okay, it's going to be a great moment, phenomenal moment, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. How can you hate on that? How the fuck can you hate on that? Finally trying to win the big one when his whole theme is he can't win the big one. And this is his last chance. And then the Hangman thing is going to be so much better. So much better if you see it my way and you let them do it the way that they're doing it. You're going to enjoy it more. It's going to mean more. It's going to hit different than rushing right into it. Or just having a generic 3-match series. Oh, all right, so they wrestle at Wembley. One guy wins. Then come on. What they're doing is so much more interesting. And you can and from a business standpoint, you will make more money doing it this way. You will make more money doing it this way rather than burning it off at Wembley where you don't need it, where the show's already money in the bank. It's already a successful show.
Right, you've sold the tickets.
$6 million gate.
Yeah, you've sold the tickets. You've sold the gate. You don't need it. Whereas you can build an entire pay-per-view on
exactly
Hangman versus Swerve.
Maybe
finally
a large
gonna happen.
stadium.
Yeah,
right. Maybe in a large stadium if you do it right. Maybe in maybe Wembley next year if you do it right. Maybe who knows? I don't know. At some big show at some other point if you do it properly. And this is where the Hangman fans might want to close their ears, but when it comes to the Wembley show specifically, I think the Danielson match has the potential to sell more tickets from this point forward than the Hangman match would. Because while the hardcore dedicated AEW fan and the Hangman fan would prefer the Hangman match, Wembley's a slightly different animal.
Mm-hmm.
As the people from Europe explained to us last year, also Wembley, any event at Wembley, as it was explained to us last year, is kind of a thing that parents do with their kids on the weekend. Oh, there's a big event at Wembley. Let's go. And Bryan Danielson is a much bigger pro wrestling star than Hangman Page. He's got the WWE pedigree. He's headlined stadium shows before. He's a name that casual fans and even some lapsed fans and non-fans will recognize. They don't know who the fuck Hangman Page is. Okay, and they can all his fans can get mad at me if they want. It's Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page. Bryan Danielson is the more recognized name, and you might accidentally sell some tickets to some WWE fans who want to come watch Bryan Danielson in the main event of Wembley. I mean, I can't find an angle where Hangman would have been the better choice here. I can't find the angle, Rich. I think Danielson is the better choice all around.
I think it's better done in I have this thing too of stadium shows. And I feel like this Wembley show, at least last year, had that vibe. I don't know if this year's going to have that vibe. Like I said, more of like a party. It's like, we're out here in Wembley, and it's a fun little party. And, Ass Man, we're playing Ass Man, and we're chanting this, and we're doing this, or whatever. Like, I know they did the grab-ass brochacho stuff on that night, and I get why they did that. It might be a big reason why they did that, because it was just kind of this big, giant party celebration or whatever. I don't know if I necessarily want this to be in a big stadium, Hangman versus Swerve. You could do that if you want, but I would say, particularly the Wembley all-in crowd felt very much like a crowd there to just kind of have a good time, chant, and do all that sort of stuff. I don't really want my big-time hate heat personal story to be blown off at all in. I just don't know if that's the right place for it. I think there's other places to definitely do that in. So that's another reason too, is I think you look at the you've already sold the tickets. People are just going to want to go there to sing Final Countdown and watch Bryan Danielson be in his last big match and his last big stadium moment or whatever. I think that's much more fun than, and like, more to our point, it's like it's not necessarily that like Danielson, because you're bringing up that Danielson might be better for Wembley. I don't even know if I need to go with that point. I just think you can do this story for longer. That's my point, is like, you've already sold those tickets for that show. Do this story 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever afterwards. You can have this story go on for a lot longer, because Hangman's the main character of AEW. We've said that since day one, and he's been the main character of this company since day one. So yeah, if he just goes and takes off Swerve's heads and wins the title and holds the title up, all right, well then that's the story, that's it. And I think there's more money in having him wait and get those fans even more emotionally invested in when they're finally going to touch, and when he's finally going to get his moment, and when he's finally going to be able to do, hit the buckshot to Swerve and win that title back and do the double turn that we're saying. Like, you can wait for that. You can absolutely wait for that.
You torture these people is what you do. Yeah. You torture the Hangman character. You torture the fans. these stories always work.
These wrestling fans just don't know about torturing anymore.
It's go back and look at Baba's All Japan booking in the 90s and how long it took.
George Kawada got tortured for a decade.
I mean,
that motherfucker got tortured for a decade.
And it means so much more when you finally overcome the hurdle, or you finally, or in this case, when he finally gets his hands on the guy. I mean, it's just classic pro wrestling booking to do it this way rather than to just rush right in. This is the exact kind of match you don't rush right into. I'm quite honestly a little surprised a lot of the Hangman fans want to get right to it right now on this next pay-per-view.
They just want that immediate satisfaction, but they're going to feel unfulfilled when it's done.
And everyone is going to love watching Bryan Danielson in that main event. I mean, this idea that this is like, it's Bryan Danielson.
Everyone's going to be folding their arms while Final Countdown plays say no.
He might be the greatest pro wrestler of all time.
Right.
Put him in the fucking match, man.
I think people will enjoy it. I think people will be okay with Bryan Danielson wrestling for the world title in front of 40,000 people at Wembley. I think they'll be okay with
Swerve
that.
Aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Plenty of time to get to that. But so I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced it's the right call. And I think they'll do a proper job building it. They'll have plenty of time to build it after Blood and Guts. They'll do a hard build for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it is they have left. The first Danielson promo was a home run promo. It was a home run promo. Now, I don't think they played it on TV, which is a mistake AEW constantly makes. And if AEW drops the ball on Hangman and Swerve, I'll come on here and tell you they dropped the ball. I mean, there's a way to do this in an effective way. If they fuck it up, they fuck it up. I don't think they're going to fuck this up, though. I get the sense that this is one of those things they've got planned out, and barring some kind of injury or something crazy, this is one that they've got planned and they're working backwards on. And we're seeing more and more of that again in AEW now. To be honest, if you're really paying attention to things, you're seeing more and more of that where they're like they used to do in the early days, where they would plant seeds for things and then those seeds would grow maybe 6 months or a year later. We're starting to see that again. Hook challenging Joe for the title, and then they have an alliance, 8 months later based on that match, or Daniel Garcia wrestling MJF during MJF's reign. And then, now ultimately it's going to be MJF that's going to try to elevate Daniel Garcia, to the top level in the company. And, with Will Ospreay, they've got like 6 different balls in the air with that guy, whether it's, the Bryan Danielson thing that's on hold, and now this MJF feud, and now whether or not he could ever be a world champion, and the stupid Tiger Driver story. They're telling like 6 different stories with Ospreay.
Yeah.
And they're managing to pull it off. So
I think they're doing a great job right now. For all the criticisms we've given of AEW booking for a while, I think they got a lot of things and a lot of different. But I think it's all really good right now. I feel they got to
look at the Tony Storm Mariah May thing, even though it's not for us. They picked an endpoint and they booked backwards, and here we are.
Yeah. And
they told a great long-term story with that as well.
Now that promo,
I think
that promo on Dynamite, holy shit.
The Mariah May promo?
Brutal. That was
I didn't like it either.
Brutal.
I thought she dropped the ball on it, but it doesn't matter because I don't think it's going to hurt the match.
No. The story's fine, but yeah, that is a great example of WWE sports entertainment style promo cadences. You don't need them. Talk like a human. Talk like a human being.
That was.
Get out there and
give her
talk.
A pass. Here's why I'm going to give her a pass, because it's the most important promo of her career. It's the first chance she's had to just have a mic and the attention of a crowd for 5 to 10 minutes and cut a promo. She was very clearly nervous, and it just didn't land. And
I think she was doing WWE sports. Tony Storm. Everyone is wondering why I turned on you.
Everyone saw it coming, but you. I agree.
She's doing the sports entertainment. Let me do a promo so that it can be cut up into a video package promo style.
Yeah,
and it led to What Chance, because that's why What Chance began, is because people would go. Triple H would get in the damn ring, or these guys would get in the damn ring, and they would sit in there. Obviously, it started because of Stone Cold or whatever, but then it got added later because these guys would cut these promos and go, Randy Orton What? At Night of Champions, what? I defeated you. You know, and these long, like, oh my God, just say words. Just talk like a human being.
They were, the fans, she had their attention at first because people are into the story.
She lost him immediately.
She bored them and she lost them. They started chanting what? They started chanting, "We want Tony," because she lost them. It wasn't a good promo. She dropped the ball. But again, I don't think it matters. I don't think it hurts the match at all. I think they're going to show up in Wembley and it's going to be a hot match. But yeah, that was a big opportunity. That was a big, and it was listless. That's the best way I could describe it. It was a very listless promo.
It's not whether I turned on her. It's why I didn't do it sooner. It's like, all right.
It didn't have any fire, emotion. It didn't have. She had no crowd connection there, like, because she lost the crowd. But I'm going to give her a look. I'm sure she's got better promos in her. They believe in her, and she's done well to this point for what she's been asked to do. She's performed well within the context of the story. One thing that we always try to do, even if something's not for us, if it's working for the greater audience, we'll say it.
Oh, and that angle, the closing angle after last night's Dynamite was fucking phenomenal. Or last week's Dynamite, I should say, was awesome.
That was great.
That was great.
No, that
made it almost all worth it. They made it almost all worth it. Her just blooding her up with the shoe, that was great.
Yeah, but she whiffed on the promo. There's no doubt. I mean, there's no defending the promo. It was a bad promo. But yeah, I don't know. I think I think Danielson's the right call for all the reasons that we just laid out. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not afraid to have the unpopular opinion on it. I think it's all going to work. I think it's one of those things. Same thing I said during, after Naito lost and for the ensuing, I'm like, just be calm. It's all going to work out if you're a Naito fan. Same thing here. It's going to work out if you're a Hangman fan, and it's going to end up being better. This is the perfect kind of feud that's going to end up being better if you're just a little patient with it and not just rushing into the next series of matches. That's my take on that.
I think that's our little catch up on Dynamite there. Obviously, if you want to get more of Joe's thoughts on AEW every single week, flagshippatreon.com. Thursday Dynamite reviews, best place to do that every single week. $5 tier gets posted on the Friday after Dynamite. I filled in a couple weeks ago, but you've done, I think, every Dynamite in history. So if you want to go back, I know a lot of people like to go back and listen to past weeks as well. They're all there. You've done every. I mean, there's maybe I've maybe filled in 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks, but I think every other episode of Dynamite ever you've reviewed throughout the history. But essentially, we've reviewed every single one, right? Maybe there's
we've reviewed every one. Yeah, you've stepped in for a couple. Yeah.
Have we ever missed one? I'm trying to think if we ever missed one. If it landed, I don't think we ever did, even if it landed on a weird holiday or whatever.
You stepped in for at least two that I could think of off the top of my head. The one a couple weeks ago, and then there was one other where I was in New Jersey or something. And then there was one that I wrote because I didn't have a voice, but I wrote a review.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember that.
So we haven't missed one. We've reviewed, we don't review anything else, but on a weekly basis. But Dynamite, we haven't missed one.
So a lot of other good stuff going on there right now. Good time to mention flagshippatreon.com. You've done a couple of Flagship Pluses as of late. Stephanie Vakir, a little bit more on the story of her leaving CMLL, how it all happened, what went down, as well as some new stuff that you figured out about when WWE reached out to her to bring her in, and some other CMLL news and notes, review of Fantastica Mania USA, which we're not going to do on this show because we have enough to go over, but that was on an episode of Flagship Plus this week. I wrote about Abe Knuckleball Schwartz because it was 30 years ago to this week that Abe Knuckleball Schwartz was debuted by WWF for some reason in 1994. So we go over what the hell that character was supposed to be, why it came to be, and just trying to figure out what the fuck was going on there. A great match of the week from you this week, going into the world of Lucha in 1984, which you might say, oh yeah, it's just random Lucha in 1984. Well, as you point out, Lucha Libre not available on Mexico City television for a lot of years until the late 80s, right? 1989 was finally when...
I think 89 is when the ban was lifted. And
it started in 1956. Really so from 1956 to 1989, essentially, we don't have a lot of Lucha Libre tapes that aren't just from, Handhelds, yeah. So you have a handheld here from 1984, which is a great story about that exact match as well.
Yeah, so the match of the week that I started last week, but the next few weeks, I'm just going to do a series on handhelds because I think, in especially, in the tape trading days and even today, really, I mean, every now and then a handheld will pop up from a WWE house show or something. Remember when Punk wrestled Dominic on the house show? Yeah. And that handheld popped up, and handhelds were popping up when NXT was humming during the Levesque era, when they would do their house shows and there would be a hot NXT match on the road. And handhelds have always been part of wrestling tape trading culture. And I'm just taking a couple weeks to look at handhelds. And yeah, in Mexico, when you had the TV ban from 1956 to basically 1990, you had decades there and the primes of so many Hall of Fame careers that we have so little footage of because wrestling wasn't on TV, and really the only stuff that has emerged would be these handhelds, and then maybe the occasional match that would be taped for Japanese television, because if there was a Japanese star in Mexico or if there was a lucha star coming to Japan,
right,
sometimes they would tape their matches and air them in Japan to hype people up for the hot star that was coming in or whatever. So every now and then we do have footage of some lucha matches that aired on Japanese TV. And then, these handhelds and guys like Roy Lucier, who, he's got a whole YouTube page dedicated to UWA handhelds. It's a YouTube page dedicated to the UWA, but a lot of it is handhelds from that early to mid 80s era, which is really the only footage of those matches that we have, and it's really all we have to go on for so many of those guys whose primes were in that era where there was just, where there was no TV. So yeah, this week's match was a trios match. I just picked a totally random one from Roy's page for this week's match of the week, a totally random handheld from that era of the UWA, and it was Solar, Ultraman, and Super Astro versus Bella Greco, Sergio El Hermoso, and Rudy Reyna from February of 1984, which also, I watched the match and the Technicos go over, but if you look on Cage Match, they have listed as the Rudos winning the match.
Oh, so, shit. Did you send that in? Did you let them know?
No, well, I went to Cubs and I asked them if he had results of that show, because either it's either Cage Match is wrong or
might not be the right match. Yeah, the match might not be the right date. Yeah,
match from yeah. So it could be a different match, right? So, the last time I did a lucha match on Match of the Week, Cubs and I unraveled another mystery and filled in a missing blank on a title lineage. Remember last time when I did the Eclipse?
Oh yeah, right.
Match featuring obscure luchador Eclipse, and we ended up unraveling and figuring out a decades old hole of a title reign that we ended up putting anyway. So again, there might be something here where this is either a match that hadn't been previously entered, or the date is wrong, or they just had the wrong result. But at any rate, I'll be doing some more handhelds the next couple of weeks for Match of the Week. And the little mini history lessons that come with them and everything. But,
the one before that, for people that did not see either, was Ric Flair versus Bret Hart from 1998. So when Bret Hart comes into WCW, and obviously they have their early pay-per-view match, and it's pretty much the only decent era of Bret Hart in WCW, but you watch that match and it's like, I don't know if it was ever going to quite land with him in WCW, but that early
a house show match from Las Vegas.
Right. But that early 1998 is pretty much the only era of Bret Hart where it felt like he belonged in that company, or felt like a star at even for a single point in that company. So it's right off the heels, obviously, a couple months after, debuting with the company and debuting after the Montreal Screwjob or whatever.
Not even it's one of his first matches in WCW,
right?
The match from Las Vegas, because they brought him in and they programmed him with Flair out of the gate, and those early days with Bret is when he hadn't realized what a shit show it was yet. He was still kind of trying,
and they haven't fucked him up yet. But basically, he has this series of matches with Flair. And then he basically just goes away for like 2 months. And then he comes back, and then he's a heel with the NWO. And it's like, oh, you've already lost it. You guys have already fucking lost it. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Yeah. But for a moment there, it felt like, hey, hold on a minute. This might be a great addition to this roster.
And there's nothing remarkable about the match from Vegas, but it's historical from the standpoint of it's Bret Hart versus Ric Flair. And we don't have a ton of Bret Hart versus Ric Flair matches on tape. They didn't wrestle a bunch. They weren't fond of each other.
They were not, to put it lightly. I think that's a light way to put it, yeah.
Neither one of them really liked the other, and Hart never really respected Flair's work, and Flair never really respected Hart's work. I don't know how much of that is tit for tat, or if they both just... Look, it's very obvious they didn't have great chemistry.
No.
I mean, that much is obvious when you do watch the matches that they've had. The chemistry's just not there. And sometimes great wrestlers, Hall of Fame level wrestlers, don't have great chemistry with each other. Bret Hart had a very mediocre match with Misawa. When the one time they wrestled, when Misawa was Tiger Mask, it just happens. And Flair and Hart never really had great chemistry. And the house show match is basically just a very basic match. Classic Flair heel routine where he sells most of it, and any offense he gets in is after he does some, dirtiest player in the game chicanery, poke in the eye or whatever. And you can tell it's Flair calling the match and Hart just going along with it and being 80% into it, And so we'll do a couple more handhelds the next few weeks until I get tired of it, and then I'll pick a different theme or do something else.
But we got plenty coming up here over the rest of the month as well. I'll have a new episode of Bret versus Owen, speaking of Bret Hart, talking about their feud 30 years ago this year. Obviously, the July. So we're going to cover July of 1994 in that feud, which gets pretty fun. Get a lot of new angles and wrinkles in here. Jim the Anvil Neidhart's now involved. We're on our way to SummerSlam. We're on our way to the cage match. So some interesting stuff there. As well as hopefully a new episode of Change the World. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, where I look back at main events and then a wild card match of every single AEW pay-per-view from Double or Nothing 2019 all the way to Double or Nothing 2022. I specifically chose to end it at that pay-per-view, and it'll make sense at the end of the show. But we'll be doing AEW Fighter Fest hopefully this month. So got that basically ready to go. So we're going to do the main event, which is Moxley and Joey Janela, and then a wild card match, which will get revealed when you listen to the show. But I did the first show a couple of weeks ago. That was Double or Nothing 2019, and that was obviously doing, we talked about it a little bit earlier, that's doing Moxley and Jericho and Omega as the main event. Jon Moxley debuts, but then the wild card match was Cody and Dustin. So we go over, the entire creation of AEW, how it all got started, the early Observer reports about it, which, now we just know it as AEW, but there was a time when, nobody knew what the hell this thing was. And it was like, these trademarks are being applied by some guy in the Jacksonville Jaguars office or whatever. And then, putting the pieces together and Dave Meltzer saying, wait a minute, I think this is Tony Khan, who used to subscribe to who still subscribes to the Wrestling Observer newsletter or whatever. So at the time it was like, man, this whole thing's kind of a mystery. And now, it's the company has been around for so long now, it just seems like at this point, just like a part of the wrestling world. But there was a time when it was nothing but a guy, buying some copyrights to Tuesday Night Dynamite or whatever, So we go over that, and obviously in this episode we'll talk about Fyter Fest and go over the history of the company and what was going on at that time as well. So that is all available at flagshippatreon.com, in addition to written stuff that we do throughout the week as well. There is a free tier, so if you want to jump on and just see, we do free posts very often as well, so you can go on there and get the free posts, and then it also lets you know when new posts are made, so that's a great suggestion to get on that one. We have a $1 trial tier where a few things get posted every month, and then obviously a $5 tier that gets you all the bonus audio, and then a $10 tier that gets you the live shows, bonus audio, bonus written content, everything. So the $10 tier unlocks every single thing there over at flagshippatreon.com. So all right, let's get to some of these other topics here, because we got a lot going on in the world of Japanese wrestling. So real quickly, I'll start because I don't know that I have a ton else to say about it. So let's do the G1, maybe get the G1 out of the way quickly, and then we'll talk about, which seems wild, I'm saying get the G1 out of here quickly when I'm pretty sure in past years our whole show would be us previewing the G1 Climax, but now it's like, we'll talk about the G1, then we'll move on to, Noah and All Japan and all these other things. But G1 Climax 34, I do want to mention here that there is still time to join the G1 Pick'em game. We are not doing it anymore. We used to, at voiceswrestling.com, we used to do a G1 Pick'em game. I do not do that anymore. I've lost, I don't have the time to do it anymore. I kind of lost the passion of doing it, but that's okay because Voice of Wrestling contributors, Chris Samsa and Jeremy Sexton, have picked up that the torch. I passed the torch to them. They've taken it and run it away. It looks much better. I used to have people send me Google Forms or spreadsheets or whatever. It was terrible. It was horrible. It took way too much time. These guys built an incredible form. Looks great. It's just like you're filling out a March Madness bracket. That's available. G1.sportofprowrestling.com. G1.sportofprowrestling.com. It is free to enter. Looks great, easy to make your picks. Gives it you can save your picks if you want to come back to do it later. A lot of really, really great user experience stuff there. So G1.sportofprowrestling.com. Just want to get that plug out of the way that there is still time to get in there and make your picks before the G1 starts. But again, G1.sportofprowrestling.com. As far as the G1 itself, Joe, do you have any hot takes, or are we ready to make predictions, or kind of what's your temperature going into this G1? Because I think I'm kind of excited, but I'm not that excited. I hate to say that I'm probably more excited about the N1 victory than the G1, which seems kind of wild to say, but I don't know. What's your temperature on the G1 right now?
I never make predictions. You know that.
I know you don't.
So I don't have any predictions. I never make G1 predictions. I haven't looked at the final night. It'd be a little harder to work out because they're doing the whole semifinal deal this year anyway. But no, I'm just hopeful that they give a legitimate push to some of the younger guys in this year's tournament. And I'm pretty confident that they will. And I honestly think that their biggest potential star is currently working in Noah anyway. I think Rohei Oiwa has a chance to be a real big star. He's just putting it all together. He looks like $1 million, and he's still on his excursion, next door in another company in Japan, and he's going to be in the N1. But he should be back by next year, I would think. And I think he's going to immediately leapfrog a lot of the, the young guys that we've been talking about ad nauseum. Your Shota Aminus and your Ren Naritas and Yuya Uemuras and who's the guy in LIJ that I'm forgetting? Yota Tsuji and all these guys. Yeah, I think he's going to, I don't know which ones, but I think he's going to immediately leapfrog a bunch of those guys when he comes back. And he has gotten over in Noah, and the people want to see him wrestle Kiyomiya. And I think he's going to get over when he comes back to New Japan. I mean, he just looks like the business. So I'm very excited about Oiwa, who is going to be in Kiyomiya's block in the N1. So that's not much of a preview for the G1, talking about a guy that's in the N1. Right. But, there's no Tomohiro Ishii, and I think that's a big loss. If you watch the G1 to see great matches, I mean, that's a big loss. There's no other way to get around.
Sure, it is.
Okay.
It is.
It's
a fresh hit. It's a fresh G1 though, and Chris Samsa, who again mentioned was doing the Sport of Pro Wrestling G1.sportofprowrestling.com pick'em game, mentions 50 first-time matchups in this year's G1. It's also, I think, the fourth youngest G1 of all time or whatever. So it's new, it's fresh. But you're right. Ishii is going to be a big loss. But I honestly, personally, I think I'm okay with that because I'm ready. The G1's felt very samey for the last couple of years. A lot of the same guys, a lot of the same, and the effort levels seem to kind of match that as well. I like the idea that there's a lot of fresh, new faces, young blood in there, but you're absolutely right that the baseline of great matches might not be there because there's some matchups that you look at and you're like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of, to me, workhorse guys that are going to go out there and every single night when this guy wrestles, it's going to be a good match.
It's not just Ishii, it's Okada and Ospreay too.
Right.
So, you've really removed three guys who you can count on who just about every night are going to go out there and have a great match. But this is a chance for this new crop of guys to start creating their own legacies.
Right.
And start creating their own rivalries and legacies and planting their own seeds. So that's why it's exciting from that standpoint. I don't know. We're probably the days of the G1 being the pinnacle of work rate on the wrestling calendar are over and have probably honestly been over for a number of years. Let's be honest about it. Now it's not about that. It's more about elevating guys and telling stories. And I'm confident that this year is going to be the year that they're going to do some new things with some new people because they had the guts, forget Ishii. They had the guts to take Tanahashi out of this thing. And, that's big.
That added to a lot of my encouragement. I talked about it, and we talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago. The fact that they did that, which I thought was the boldest thing that they could do, and I mentioned it when they announced the G1 blocks and they announced the qualifiers. I said, okay, if President Tanahashi wants to put his money where his fucking mouth is, and he says we're really, really, really going to do it, we're really going to push young guys, then Newman and Oleg both get in, and Tanahashi, you let Bolton beat you. And I kind of said that as like the, kind of a, this is kind of the ridiculous pie in the sky, put your money where your mouth is thing, and he fucking did it. He did it. He put Newman in the A block, which made all sense in the world with the Naito thing. That one was a lock. I was certain that Newman was going to get in because of the Naito story and stuff, and he's a perfect guy in that block to lose all of his matches, no problem. But the Bolton thing, I was like, all right, that's bold. If you want to really be about it, you can do it. This guy can beat you and take you out of the G1, and you can really put your money where your mouth is. That's bold, and I understand taking yourself out of the G1 is not easy when you're Hiroshi Tanahashi and you've built up that legacy and you've been, you're the guy, you're the man, you're the reason that this company still is alive. This company would probably be dead without this guy. They'd have been in bankruptcy.
And by the way, you have to sell some tickets.
Right, and you got to sell some tickets to these shows. So I get why Tanahashi is still would still say, yeah, you know what, we got to push the young guys. But I still got to, hike up those pants because we got to sell some tickets to some of these shows or whatever. And Tanahashi's going to be on the bill, so you got to go watch it. The fact that he put Bolton in, I was like, okay, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm into this because it's like, okay, hold on, that's big. That took a lot of balls. Now, will the baseline of the match quality go down a little bit? But if it was Tanahashi, I mean, at this point, I don't really want to see Tanahashi wrestle David Finlay. You know what I mean? Like, do I really want to see that? So it's like, yeah, but Bolton is going to probably lose most of his matches, but it's intriguing. It's intriguing because there's so many new names. And when you see the names that fell off that are not in this year's tournament, that were in prior year tournaments, it really does speak to, okay, finally they decided we needed to move forward. We have to get this new generation over. We have to do something with this new generation. And it's put up or shut up time, for a lot of these guys too. So I'm excited from that standpoint.
And the semifinal spots open up the possibilities of more people advancing into high-profile matches at the end of the tournament.
Yeah. You got quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and you got basically 3 people from every block with a chance to get to the finals, which is huge.
Yeah, so
that's real big.
So it ends up more huge matches rather than just the 2 block winners facing each other and you're kind of boxed in. But no, you'll have high-profile matches with stakes, which more of those matches, which means more spots for some of the younger guys to get a focus on them. And yeah, the qualifying tournaments were a big success. They should keep doing that. Tell a lot of different stories using those things. So I'm interested in the tournament, and I'm confident that we're going to see some attempted elevations too.
Yeah, as far as predictions, I mean, we were always pretty bad at doing this, and predictions. And the problem, what we would usually do is you would say, what's on the final night? And I would list all the matches. You go, okay, yeah, Naito and Omega. I'd be like, well, okay, you kind of ruined it or whatever. But it used to be a little bit easier. I think it's going to be a lot more difficult now with the top 3. It seems kind of more, it seems a little harder now to lock in. And really, honestly, you could go a lot of different ways with this right now, which I think is to me, a real benefit is that we're not going in the G1, and I don't think it's very definitive that in the A block it's going to be this guy, and in the B block it's going to be that guy. I think you can make a case for a lot of different. I mean, A block alone, Naito probably not. Obviously, he's a champion, so he's probably not going through. You can make a case for Umino winning the A block. You can make a case for Sonata. I don't know if I want to make a case for Shingo. I would make a case, personally, if I was booking, I'd make a case for Shingo.
I don't think he's getting pushed anymore.
But they're not going to do it. I would, but they're not. Sonata, you can make a case for. Great Okan, I think I'm done with that now. I think I'm out on Okan. Zack Sabre Jr., absolutely, you can make a case for him, and
everyone
should make a
thinks
case
he's winning the whole tournament.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think you can make a case for that. Gabe Kidd, I don't think he's ready yet for that spot, so I wouldn't. Jake Lee, man, do we have to have a Jake Lee conversation? We'll do it during the Noah show. Let's do it during the Noah show. We'll have the Jake Lee conversation.
We're going to have it. I just don't know when you want to
have to have a Jake Lee conversation. Maybe. You know what? Fuck it. Jake Lee might win the whole thing too. Who the hell knows? Evil, I feel like that ship's kind of sailed a little bit. And then Callum Newman, obviously a no. So A block of the guys that I said you could have a rough chance of winning the block. We'll go with that. Umino, Sonata, Sabre, and I guess Jake Lee would be my 4. That would have. That's pretty good out of an A block. B block?
They're not putting Jake Lee.
Dude, I don't know with this guy anymore. This guy fails up more than... This guy is Japan Jeff Jarrett. The man just fails and keeps moving up the ladder. I don't know.
No, but even if
he'll run this company in 2 years, for God's sakes.
Listen, I understand that. Even if he's coming into the company now, which it looks like, they're not going to push him that fast.
I don't know anymore with Jake Lee.
I mean, I couldn't.
I don't know. If I told you after, if I told you in January Jake Lee is going to be in the G1 this year and he's going to be a full-time New Japan roster member, you'd laugh at me too.
I just don't think they'll put. Look, if they
shouldn't.
Push,
they shouldn't, by the way.
This is a promotion that's already pushing David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, just so many people that I just don't have any interest in watching whatsoever. I mean, if they start pushing Jake Lee too, it's going to be a hard sell.
It's over.
I mean, they just don't have an interesting crop of stars anymore for me. I'm just not all that interested in what they're offering up. I'll see who they elevate, of course. I love Yota Tsuji's upside. I'm still buying stock in Yuya Uemura. Shota Umino, we've kind of flipped. Like, you're like, oh, I get it now. And I'm like, oh, now he's a dork. And there's some political stuff with him that
he's getting more dorky though. I think the bell curve is going back down again for me.
Why does he have my aunt's haircut?
I did the hair, Joe. I was about to say the hair. The bell curve, when he had a good little hair going for a while, and now he has your aunt's hair. And it's like, yeah, I don't know your aunt, but I know what your aunt's hair looks like, and it looks like Shota Umino's. Yeah, the bell curve has gone back down again for Umino for me.
Yeah, so I love watching Shingo, but I don't think he's someone they're ever going to push at a main event level. I mean, the door's open for Zack Sabre Jr. Everyone seems to be convinced he's winning it.
I don't know if they see him as that.
I don't either. I don't know if he's a Tokyo Dome.
No, I don't either.
I don't know if I'm feeling that. I think they're more likely to take a gamble on one of these young guys. And I think they view Yota Tsuji as a main eventer. The way that he was booked the last year tells me that they view him as a main eventer. The others, I think it's, we'll see. And I think when Ryohei Oiwa comes back, I think that guy's going to be undeniable. I'm buying all the stock in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I can't be more impressed. I mean, and every time I see him, he's added like 10 more pounds of muscle.
Oh, he's so big. Yeah, that is getting wider and wider and stronger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, you know me. I'm not a body guy. I'm an effort guy, Joe. And my man's putting effort in. There's some effort going on in that body for sure. But yeah, B Block, for my list of like guys that I think could win the block.
Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
But one more quick point. If you bring a non-fan to a show and Shota Umino and Ryohei Oiwa get in the ring, who do you think the non-fan thinks is the star?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
what if the one guy hands out trinkets on his way to the ring? Isn't that guy the star, or no? The guy that just looks like $1 million fucking bucks.
It's not just the muscles either. It's just the aura too.
Right.
Like, it's the whole package. It's the body.
Are you sure your aunt coming out and giving glow sticks to kids is not cool? Like, I don't know. Are you sure?
I mean, one guy jumps off the screen, and the other guy is Shota Umino.
You're starting to get my energy. I like it. Yeah, man. We have indeed flipped, because I'm like, it's fine, and you're where I was a year ago, where I was like, fuck this dork. This guy's a geek. Get him out of here.
He changed, not me.
Yeah, he is a dork. He is absolutely a dork, though. Yeah, it's not going to click.
I don't. Yeah. He's going back. See, now look, he got out of shape in the pandemic, and we all made a big deal out of it, and the company wasn't pleased, and he got back into shape, and now he's getting pudgy again. Is this a guy who just doesn't have doesn't have this psychotic wrestler mind frame of I always have to be in the gym, I always have to eat right? Is that going to be a problem for him? It's fair to question it at this point.
I'm not a body guy. I'm an effort guy. I don't know about that effort.
You got to look like a star to be a star.
Well, think about how much he got swallowed up at, like, when he's on a show at like a Forbidden Door or whatever, and it's just like, oh, that is just a guy on the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly. He doesn't jump off the page at all. That's my concern with him.
He's like John Moxley's nephew when you're on that show. It's like, oh, how does that guy know John Moxley or whatever? It's like, oh, it must be
it's so funny because he has none of Moxley's energy.
No, it's like an exchange student or whatever. It's like John Moxley's exchange student that follows him around or whatever. Energy. Yeah, none of it. Yeah. They've tried. They really tried. They give him the jacket, they give him the entrance, they give him the glow sticks, they give him and that's just people are gonna see it. I'm gonna be right in the end. I'm gonna be right in the end, but
he's like when you're in high school and you have your group of friends and you're hanging out in the summer, and then all of a sudden one of them has to bring their cousin along, and you're like, "Who's this guy?" "Oh, that's my cousin. He's from Nevada. just let him hang out with us. I can't leave him at the house.
And he doesn't have the vibes.
Parents,
he doesn't match the
and he
vibes.
doesn't have the vibes.
He doesn't match the vibes, yeah.
Because he doesn't have the vibes.
You do the inside jokes. He looks around during the inside jokes. You have to explain the inside jokes. It's bad.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the vibes. It just doesn't work. That's almost what he's like. But I still have him ahead of Ren Narita.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Narita's a grade A fucking dork.
I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, remember we all ripped on him for being cosplay Shibata. He needs to go back to being cosplay.
That was
Shibata.
better. Yeah.
That was.
B Block. Riveting preview for the G1, by the way. B Block. Guys that I think have a realistic chance of winning the B Block. El Phantasmo, I don't. Could he be in that semifinal, quarterfinal mix? Probably. I don't see him going through, though. I don't think El Phantasmo wins your B Block.
No, he's not winning the block. Stop.
No.
0% chance.
Hiroki Goto, does the G stand for G1 in year 34? I hope so too.
Hey, listen, let me book this fucking thing. I'll give you a Goto
Shingo Goto final. Yeah.
And I'll tell him go out there and give me a hard 35.
Yeah, I was going to say 35. You write 35 on the whiteboard and go, you guys do whatever you got to do. You're the pros. I'm just the guy, 35 minutes, go for it. Yeah.
I think Goto's got a few more bangers in him.
Absolutely, he does. Yeah, I know how you would book it too. You would have him do the thing where he peeks through the curtain, to see if he goes through or whatever, and then he goes through and he kind of fist bumps or whatever. Him and Shingo just kind of cross arms and look at each other. Just classic, barrel-chested dudes. Yeah.
You got to have the towel around the neck peeking through the curtain to see if the result goes his way, Yeah. And then that's the only way to do it.
And then, they just go out there and sweating, just dripping sweat after 35 minutes, chopping each other. Yeah, that sounds great.
I got nothing but love for Hiroki Goto. He's one of the best offensive wrestlers of all time. I mean, he just invented some sick fucking moves. What's the rule of thumb? What's pro wrestling? It's it's do cool moves and act like a badass, right?
Yeah. He nails that.
Who exemplifies that more than anybody?
Right.
Hiroki Goto. Do cool moves and act like a badass. That's Hiroki Goto. That was always his energy. He's out there in his fucking, what is that? Like a Shaolin gimmick or whatever the fuck. He's kind of
great music too, warrior, man. That music rocks.
Great
so
music. Good. The word on the street, the rumors are that he comes from a wealthy family and he doesn't even need to do this shit.
That's even better.
He's out there.
I respect that even more.
Yeah, because he's a wrestler who's gonna be feeling it when he's 50. You know what I mean? Actually, he's almost 50, I think. Well, how old is he? Gotta be in his 40s. But
I thought he was
he's a guy who's gonna be feeling it later in life. And so he doesn't need to do this.
45.
Right?
He's 45. He's just a baller. He's just a baller, man. He
is. He's a fucking baller.
He's the guy who's got his basketball in the car and he passes a park and there's people playing and he goes, fuck yeah, let me get on here,
Fuck yeah, I'm going to play.
Right. Just brings the ball and says, let's go,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a little sore. He just got done with a workout, but there's people balling and he's going to ball because he's a baller. So,
yeah. I love me some gold. It'll be a sad day when they yank him from this thing.
Yeah. He ain't winning the block, though. Yota Tsuji absolutely could win the block. Yuya Uemura, I think probably not yet, but...
Probably not yet. I could see him making, like, that playoff gimmick.
Right. He can make the quarterfinals or whatever. Jeff Cobb, I don't see that they would push Jeff Cobb to that level.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't write him off. You look at his G1 booking history. He never fucking loses G1 matches.
Yeah.
He wins a lot of G1 matches.
Yeah, the preview at voicesofwrestling.com, J. Michael did it really, really good about Jeff Cobb's booking pattern in G1s. And it's like, they really...
He wins a lot of fucking matches. You could see Gato, too, like, more monster. He loves guys like that.
Big Jeff Cobb, monster.
Big Jeff Cobb, be big, more monster.
And he's a monster, man. I get it. That's the guy you talk about, you bring a non-fan to the building. They see that fucking house of a man walking out, man. They're gonna feel that one. But... okay, I'll upgrade him to a possibility. Hanare, I don't think they're going to have Hanare win the block. There's no way.
He won't win a block. No.
David Finlay, very, very good chance of winning the block.
Win the block.
Yeah. Red Narita, no chance in hell.
No.
Konosuke Takeshita will not win the block.
Not winning the block.
And Bolton Oleg will not win a match.
Probably not win a
Maybe
match.
beat Red Narita. Maybe. Probably not.
Like in a comedy deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. Roll him up. Give him the verdict and the judgment.
right. So what do we got here?
You don't think he'll hit the verdict and the judgment on somebody? I think he'll hit it on somebody.
Yeah.
Pick someone.
Yeah. Jeff Cobb. Yeah.
Oh, that ain't happening.
But
he's going to hit that verdict and judgment on somebody.
Brendan Reitz is a perfect guy to do it too.
I think Callum Newman gets 0, and I think Bolton gets 2.
I'd say 2. I think he beats Brendan Reitz in some comedy House of Torture thing where their nefarious ways backfire and Bolton Oleg gets So I don't know. I think Newman's a lock for 0. I agree with you. Oleg, I think it's 2.
Do you think he finally gets music and some distinctive gear? Because a lot of times
I don't want him to. I kind of like the no music
can't come out to
gimmick.
the young one. Dun, 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 dun. He can't come out to that every time.
I like that. I think that works for him though. He kind of looks like the guy that wouldn't care. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't, whatever. Like they would ask him, what do you want your music to be? And he'd be like, I don't care, whatever. Doesn't he have that vibe?
Because when he beat Tanahashi, the song played so long, we heard like the second verse of the Young Lion song for like the first time. It was like
this. Yeah, right. You're like, what is this?
It was like this extended version of the Young Lion theme that we never heard before, because we only hear like usually on the entrance, and then they sprint to the ring. So you only hear like 20 seconds of it tops, and then maybe they have a draw or something. They play it for 20 minutes. Yeah, but we heard like the extended version as Tanahashi's like lifting his hand and everything.
Chris Sampson has a great idea. Bolton should keep the Young Lion music, and they should give the Young Lions a new theme.
I could get with that.
I like it because it fits him.
Because it
fits him
you
very
identify
well.
it with him now.
Yeah.
You definitely identify it with him now. So yeah, that. Yeah, but then again,
he's
that's
winning
the classic
the
Young
Lion.
I
love this man. He's got to win I want him to win the whole block. I'm in. I like him.
God,
big ugly guy. We don't have ugly wrestlers anymore. You know what I mean? Too many pretty boys. I want an ugly wrestler again.
I agree. I mean,
But he's like ugly in like a. Because I don't know if I would call him. Would you call him ugly?
I don't know. He's an average looking guy.
I think but he's wrestler ugly though.
By New Japan standards, for sure, because they're like pretty boys.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like in a world where there's a lot of pretty guys on this roster, you got this guy with his.
I don't anticipate the Oleg Bolton photo book coming out.
You don't think so? No, you don't think? All right.
No, where he's like, sitting in a field rubbing his nipples. I don't know.
He's shirtless with his jeans on. Yeah.
Yeah, with the button undone on the jeans.
His Wranglers undone. Yeah.
Just a little tease for the ladies, right? I don't know. I don't see that coming anytime soon.
No, I don't either. Well, there you go. That's a G1. If you want more detailed previews of the G1, voicesofwrestling.com. John Carroll did the A block in extensive detail, and then Jay Michael, who does just incredible work writing about New Japan Pro Wrestling, did the B block as well. They both do incredible jobs writing about New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I promise you will not find a more comprehensive, better written, detailed preview than what you're going to get at voicesofwrestling.com with that A block and B block preview. So definitely go over there. And then again, last G1.sportoprowrestling.com if you want to join the G1 Pick'em game. Free to enter, prizes as well if you are one of the better contestants. So get in there and win some prizes. I don't know if they're doing the gimmick that we used to do where if you got the worst score, because we used to do that too with our gimmick. We would give the person, but not like some people get like 0 because they like didn't fill. No, it was like you earnestly filled this thing out and did like poorly. Like there were some people you could tell they were just picking, and I threw those ones out. There were people that was like, I was just like, you're just picking what you think is the opposite of what's going to happen. But there were people that I could tell were earnestly trying to pick the G1 and were so fucking horrible at it that we gave them a prize as well. So I don't know if they're doing that or if they're just giving prizes to people that pick correctly. But G1.sportoprowrestling.com if you want to join that. All right.
He's not a bad looking guy. He's got the cauliflower ears, but he looks like any 20-something you'd see in a club standing in the corner with his best shirt.
Yeah, right? He looks like a polo, but he's kind of geeky. He's just in like a polo shirt and like khakis. He doesn't quite fit in.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a guy wearing like his best collared shirt. Yeah. Maybe it's shiny. Maybe the shirt. He's a shiny shirt guy.
A silk shiny shirt guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing the shiny shirt. He's been milking the same drink for an hour and a half with a little fucking red straw in it, and he's just looking around. You got
a vodka soda or something like that, just a kind of a boring drink.
Exactly. Yeah, vodka tonic, and he's just looking around, and he's just like, He's kind of moving his head to the beat, but he's not. Like he's doing like he can't commit. He won't commit to moving the head to the beat, because he's a jock and he's a little uncomfortable with with expressing himself. You know what I mean? But he's there and he's wearing his silk collared shirt and he's got his little vodka tonic and he's just looking around and he's not good at picking up cues from the ladies. A couple girls have checked him out, but he's not good at picking up on that, right? So he hasn't approached anybody. And he's probably just going to go home with his boys alone. He's not going to hook up or anything, but he's out there, he's hanging. I don't think he's he's a decent looking guy. He's an all right looking guy. So that's the picture I paint when I look at this old Lake Bolton. He was thicker actually as a fucking amateur.
He was.
Big
I know.
guy,
I kind of want
some of
that.
these
As you look at pictures of him as in his Kazakhstan wrestling days or whatever, he is he's certainly a thicker boy. I like that. I think I don't know. I he's very cut now. I like the body's not bad. I'm not complaining about the body these days, but I do like the thicker boy days of Oleg Bolton too. But great gimmick that they're doing for the Sport of Pro Wrestling thing. If you get the worst score, you get to guest on the Super J Cast. Okay, that rocks actually. So you get to if you get the worst score, G1.sportofprowrestling.com, you get to do a guest spot on the Super J Cast here on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network. It's talked to Damon and Joel. So that actually is a pretty great gimmick. I enjoy that.
Yeah. Apparently he's 31, married, and has a kid. So he's not hanging out at the club.
You don't know that. It's because you have a kid.
That's
you can't
true.
go to the club.
That's true. You get a babysitter, and it's
maybe the
I
wife
don't
just
know.
likes
You
to
really wanna
dance.
go to-
Like you could have that exact same scenario. The wife's out there dancing, getting maybe her friends.
yeah, and he doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah,
that
he
kind of
goes
thing.
because he's like I assume like what you would have to do if you went to a bar or whatever.
I
is-
just send her with the girls. I
You
don't,
don't even
Just
go. You don't even go. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say you would strike me as the silk shirt guy in the corner, just soda. Just soda. Maybe throw a little lime in there just to make people think that you're.
Ugh. I want nothing to do with
This.
it.
It sounds like
I
you're
don't-
hell to go to a club, show someone your ID as you walk in.
Yeah, it's like, let's go to the club. Like,
as you're opening the door.
not a fucking chance. Any suggestion of bar or club, I'm like, call Rachel. What do you want me to go for? I'm just gonna ruin your night anyway. Just call your fucking friends. I got things here at the house. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna watch Mad Men. You go do what you want to do. You need an Uber, call me. I'll get the Uber for you. But I don't want nothing to do with it. Last place I want to be. I'd rather go to the beach. How about that?
Wow. There we go.
I
Joe
would
would rather
go-
go to the beach than a club. I love it.
I would go to the beach before a bar / club.
Wow. And you
No
hate
doubt about
beaches.
I hate beaches with a passion, but I would rather spend an afternoon at the beach than a night at the club.
Yeah. Well, you know where I stand on that, but yeah, it's the worst.
No,
I hate them.
no thanks.
Oh, my 20s
fucking
were
awful.
horrible. I hated my 20s so much. I was like, do I have to? All my friends were into it. And I was like, I don't really want to go to this. My thing was if they're charging a cover, and you know me, like, fuck that. I'm out. Because, like, I'm not paying $20 to go to this shitty, crowded club. Or you fuck off.
Well, Rich, that's how it works.
I know, but
you
there's
can't just
plenty of places. No. There was plenty of places you'd have to pay a cover.
Yeah.
For this loud place where all you guys are all just going to hit on girls that are just going to get free drinks out of you and then leave. Nah, I'm good.
Well, there's
Not the dancing type.
there's functional, reasonable, pragmatic crate for you.
Yeah. No time for
with
it.
a
No
creaky
time for
wallet. He's like, you're not getting free drinks out of that, man.
it. Hell no.
Which means you weren't going home with any girls, but
Yeah.
you didn't buy any free drinks.
I didn't buy any free
That's
drinks.
all
My
that matters.
buddies bought free drinks and didn't go home with anybody. I didn't buy any
Wow.
drinks and I didn't go home with anybody. It's fine.
That's well, then you came out ahead, didn't you?
Actually, sometimes that worked better because there you would actually I'll let you know. Well, trick of the trade is that everybody does. I don't know what the vibe is now. I have no idea if this happens anymore at bars. I don't even know if kids go to bars anymore. I don't even know what the fuck kids do anymore. But there used to be a little bit of a "why won't you buy me a drink" thing. You know what I mean? A little bit of like, so what's up? Why aren't you buying me a drink or whatever? It's like it would kind of throw them off a little bit.
Yeah.
You zig when other people zag. I'm telling you,
It's kind of like
it kind of
the
works.
old trick
It works
where
kind of well. It did all right. I'll tell you that.
with the old, you got to neg them. Did
Yeah.
you ever neg the girls, Rich?
Well, the problem was I couldn't pick up on the second part of the cue, so I was just like, oh, I don't know. They're like, oh, okay. I didn't land it. I mean, I'm not saying I landed I didn't stick the fall. I understood. But if you can figure out the next path, then you're good. I didn't figure out the next path. I was just like, oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
I find it demeaning. Don't
So these are flirting tips with Craig.
Yeah, do not take any of these tips. Do not take any of these tips. Go.
It all sounds pretty awful if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't work well. Anyway, I'm happily married now, so it's all good. Anyway, let's move on here to the let's flip a coin here. N1, Noah. Let's do N1. Let's talk Noah here first because we talked about the G1. Let's talk about the N1, and then we'll get to this Noah Destination show. N1 2024 N1 Victory kicks off August 4th. Final set for September 1st. Here are your blocks. Kaito Kiyomiya, who successfully defended his GHC heavyweight title. He will be representing.
Rich, can I give you the blocks?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go for it.
All right. First of all, something very bizarre. TLB just came down here, and I could see the kitchen from where I'm sitting. She grabs her purse, okay? Then she goes to the refrigerator. She grabs a Coke Z and puts it in the purse, which is now on her shoulder. Mm-hmm. Then she grabs half a watermelon, sticks a spoon in the cut in half watermelon.
Okay, cut in half watermelon, spoon just thrown into it, just raw dog in this watermelon, just spoon in the watermelon.
Coke Z in the purse, which is on her shoulder, and goes upstairs with the purse with the Coke Z inside and a half a watermelon with a spoon, and scurries back upstairs.
Interesting. Why the purse?
I don't know. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's very weird.
Could she not hold the Coke Z and the watermelon at the same time? Is this a watermelon that requires two hands?
Pretty big watermelon.
So maybe that was maybe that was the idea. Is I'm going to carry the watermelon with two hands and then put the purse on my shoulder so that the Coke Z can come up with me.
And then she kind of did like a little dance and shimmy, like I'm very excited about this watermelon and Coke Z that I'm about to.
Sounds like a great combo. To be honest, yeah.
She just skedaddled back upstairs with the cat in tow. So that was very weird.
Is Miss Maggie Moo going to get some watermelon, you think?
I don't know. I don't know if she's into it.
With cats, I don't know. I don't know what cats are in because I know like what dogs like. Would a cat eat a watermelon if you just like threw a watermelon on the floor?
I don't think she'd eat watermelon, but if I make a baked chicken, she's all over me. She wants some of that chicken when I make a baked chicken. And she really likes tuna. She enjoys tuna.
Well, that's very cat. Yeah, that's very cat. Like,
yeah, if someone makes tuna, they put the can down there and she licks it clean.
Okay.
Gets the remnants of the tuna.
Yeah, cat people. Let me know if you put a piece of watermelon on the floor, would the cat eat it? I would say no. I would vote that no.
I
The
don't
cat
think
would not
she's
eat that.
Dogs
love watermelon. Dogs would eat that.
I closed her tail in the hinge of a door today, and she made the most hellish sound. This was just a hellish noise that she made, and I thought I broke her tail. I thought she's gonna have a crooked tail, but her tail is fine, and she's all right.
I hope you open a can of tuna after that.
I didn't give her shit. I don't know what she did.
Walk it off. Yeah. Walk it off.
She was all right, and then I was like, all right, well, skedaddle, get out of here.
Yeah, scram.
Beat it. N1 Victory. They I don't know if you noticed, I don't know if you watched, did you watch the announcement of the N1 Victory?
I did not watch the announcements, no.
They gave these men little sub names when they announced them. So in the A block, Kaito Kiyomiya was Galaxy View.
Galaxy
they call this man
View, okay.
Galaxy View. Kitamiya, not to be confused with Kiyomiya, Masa Kitamiya. His is Go for Broke.
I like.
Go for Broke.
I like it.
Masa Go for Broke Kitamiya. Jack Sublime Every Time Morris.
No way. That's great.
I swear to God.
That's awesome.
I swear to God.
Sublime Every Time.
Sublime Every Time.
Jack Sublime Every Time Morris. I love it.
Go Shiozaki is I Am Noah, which has to be the most fitting of all.
Yeah, the most generic, boring, whatever. They probably asked him what he wanted, and he was just like, I don't know, I'm Noah. They're like, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, he probably said, I am Noah. Yeah. Well, listen, he is 0-1 now.
He is. Can't wait. Can't wait to talk about 0-1.
Dragon Bane is the King of Air. King of Air.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Josh Briggs is WWE NXT superstar.
Not exactly the most fun, but yeah, describe him. Does describe him perfectly.
Rohei Oiwa, he didn't have one, or I couldn't understand it. I couldn't make his out. I couldn't make a lot of these out, actually. And they didn't have a lot of them written in English. And then same thing for Louis Monte of Dragon Gate. He, I don't know what his was because I couldn't understand the guy. But yeah, so that's your A block. Those are your A block competitors in the N1. That's a pretty good block.
That's a hell of a block, man. Yeah, dude, this N1, I love this N1, man. When I was writing these blocks down, I was like, holy crap, I am all in on the N1 way more than I'm in on the G. Because like I feel like the capacity for great matches is bigger in the N1 this year than it is in the G1. Now, that probably won't bear itself out. I'm sure the G1 will have a lot of really, really great matches. But, man, Kiyomiya and Go Shiozaki, Kiyomiya and Kitamiya, Go Shiozaki and Kitamiya, Oiwa against all three of those guys. Louis Monte, who's been great over the last couple years against all those guys, too. Jack Morris, who I think has got a ton of potential. Dragon Bane. And, hey, Josh Briggs is there, too. But, you know,
he'll be all right.
He'll be all right. I think everybody in that A block has a chance to have really, really good matches against everybody else in the A block.
Well, Oiwa versus Kiyomiya is obviously the match I've got circled.
Oh, my God,
Jack Morris is going to put in work. He's going to be sublime every time.
Sublime every time. He's a big dude. He might be, if he's going to keep good-looking guys around, he's going to be the linchpin of good-looking guys.
I don't think they just disbanded, right? They might keep it around. I don't know. Yeah, there's really no one in that block that I'm not interested in watching work, which means all of the matches are going to be, you know, interesting looking on paper, and B block. So I didn't pick up a lot of these nicknames, and not a lot of them were in English, but Titus Alexander was future franchise, Titus Alexander. Tavion Heights was WWE NXT superstar. So they gave two guys that one. Kano is in that block. Manabu Soya, El Hiodi, Dr. Wagner Jr. Who else was in that? Oh, Yoichi. Yoichi is in that block. Mm-hmm. Oka Sasaki.
He's back now. He's back to Yoshika Inamura. They sent a press release that said from henceforth he will be renamed Yoshiki Inamura. So I think it said by his request is what the press release said. So I don't know if they're what the gimmick is there. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, he's back to Inamura.
And then they put both Lucha guys in. So I think that Dragon Bane's in the A block and
Alpha Wolf, yeah, is in the B block.
Is in the B block, and those guys deserve it because they've really been quietly one of the better tag teams in the world on this Noah run, and they really have added a lot of flavor to these Noah shows. You know, they really help break up the Noah shows sometimes with their energy and their matches, which are always one of the highlights of any Noah show, are Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. So they get a big opportunity. They probably won't win many matches, you know, but they're both in this thing and they're both in opposite blocks. So yeah, it's a good looking tournament. You know, I think I prefer the A block, but there's nothing wrong with that B block. You know, Tavion Heights is an interesting one. He's got the amateur wrestling background, and
they should keep him. They should keep him. If they kept him for like a year, a half a year even, he'd come back as like, I mean, he's like 26, amateur background. I'd leave him there. I know that's probably not what they're going to do, and that's not what WWE does, and we have this performance center, so we don't need to do that. But, dude, I think if you had that guy in Noah for 6 months to a year, he'd come back as like the man. You know what I mean? Because he's already got – he's fine. Like, he's okay. For people who've never seen Tavion Heights before, he's fine. You could tell there's potential there. He's got an actual background. Like, he needs some refinement. He's an
Olympic wrestler.
He's an Olympic level wrestler. Yeah. And that's why I think, like, of all places, Noah, get him in there in that dojo and train with those guys for a little while. I think he'd be fucking phenomenal in 6 months or a year.
He's another guy where the name was a downgrade. His name was Giangelo Hancock.
Oh, you think I actually think Tavion Heights is a little bit better, but Giangelo Hancock is pretty good too.
Giangelo Hancock is a great name.
Tavion Heights isn't a bad one. As far as NXT names go, it's better than Saquon Sugars or whatever. Tavion Heights isn't too bad.
There's not many Giangelos running around.
There's not too many Giangelos. You know? No, that's certainly a rare one there.
I wonder if it was a hands up thing in terms of who wants to go, right? Because I could see like an Olympic wrestler maybe wanting to go over there and experience a Japan tour. And Briggs, of course, was a big indie name at one point, and Evolve and Beyond and everything. So, or I wonder if it was a combination of who put their hand up and sort of handpicked at the same time, and how much input Noah had in this, because I could see Noah totally marking out for an Olympic wrestler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We
If
want
they
the
had their
Olympic
choice,
wrestler.
if they had their choice, they'd probably circle that guy too.
Yeah. So, I'm curious how he's going to do, and he'll probably come back and he'll have to undo all the bad habits they learned over there. How
Well, I'm just fascinated too, because this is our first example of a guy who is, because he's 100% PC trained, right? Like he's 100% a PC product. Josh Briggs is like, I have no doubt in my mind that Josh Briggs is going to show up to Noah and be able to kind of assimilate with
acclimate
and assimilate with their style pretty quickly, because he's Josh Briggs. He worked indies for years and years and years and years. He knows how this goes. Here's Tavion Heights walking into like a locker room and a country he's never, in a wrestling, and having to work a style unlike he's ever worked before. I mean, you're not going to get in there with Kano and say, all right, so what do you want to do tonight? You know what I mean? Like Kano's not going to, as Kano's tying his boots or whatever, and goes, hey, so what are we going to do tonight? It's just kind of, it's a whole different story.
Kano better not get smart and test him, because that won't work out well for Kano.
Actually, that sounds awesome. Kano doing that and this guy just whooping his ass. Like, that sounds cool as hell. That's what they should do. Is just tell him it's a work, or tell him it's a shoot, and just have him go out there and shoot on these guys.
The 2020 Olympics were in Tokyo, sir. So Tavion Heights has been on tour in Japan.
There you go.
Technically,
I mostly meant like in a wrestling culture and a wrestling,
No,
No, I got
breaking your balls. But so he'll wrestle Kano, Manabu Soya, Wagner 2, Titus Alexander, Alpha Wolf. There's a matchup.
Alpha Wolf, man, I'm in. That sounds awesome.
The newly rechristened Inamura, who's back to being Inamura. Is he going to keep the Yoichi look? While
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Let me see what the press release said here.
And then Oka Sasaki, which,
now they should just straight up shoot. Those guys should just straight up shoot.
Just let them shoot.
Yeah.
Look, neither one of them are going to win many. Well, Oka Sasaki, I shouldn't disregard him. He might win a bunch of matches.
They might play.
Yeah. So, but I don't think Heights is going to win. He'll get a couple token wins. I would assume he'd keep the new look. He looks like more of a star, obviously, with the new look than he did previously. But
all right, here's what the press release says, by the way. It says, Yoichi, who participated in the 7-3 Nippon Budokan show at his own request, will henceforth be known as Yoshiki Inamura. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, and thank you in advance for your cooperation. Okay.
Sounds like this wasn't planned.
No, I know. I don't know why they're apologizing. I'm like, it's all right. It's all right. That's his whole name. They're
like you. They're anxious and sorry.
Very anxious. We're like sorry. Yoichi is going to be called Yoshiki Inamura from here on henceforward. All right. Sorry. We're sorry. All right.
Yeah.
It's fine. Did he think he was coming back as Inamura, and they were like, well, we're going to call you Yoichi, and then they were like, and then I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening there.
I don't know. It sounds like he doesn't want to do the new name anymore, and like they thought he was going to be the new name. It comes across like this wasn't planned.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
All right, let's talk about this show though. This destination show at the at Budokan, 4196. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're okay attendance, I guess.
Yeah, that I look at that number initially and go, that's fine. Like I think it's fine.
Though,
that's a big building,
I watched the show.
That's a bit. It was dark. It was kind of dark.
There was a lot of empty seats and a lot of empty space on the floor, right? Like they didn't have a lot of chairs set up on the floor. Like
no. So
did they have 4196 in there?
I don't know. So 4196, that altogether show that was in May, same building, 4,583, and that would probably be considered a. Now that show, obviously, you want a little bit more for that since it's this, but I don't know.
One thing, it's like, remember when New Japan was really taking off in 2013 or whatever, and it looked like they had all that trajectory, and a lot of the Pearl fans were like, it's and it has nothing to do with Gato and Jato's booking because. It's Bushi Road and the marketing and the muscle behind it and all that. And we were like, Yes, and yes, if you think I'm about to take a victory lap on 10-year-old arguments, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Get ready, strap in.
So, with people who no longer listen or follow us or care about us or probably don't even like wrestling anymore, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And the whole idea was we're praising this booking because we see all this great booking coming together in the company, and they're making new stars, and that's the essence of booking, is making new stars. And it was Gato's not a great, but it's all the marketing and the money behind with Bushiroad and all this. And I never bought into that because, you can have all the money and marketing in the world behind a product, but, you still have to be able to effectively book and make new stars and create stars and book programs that have interest in all of those things. And I look at Noah, and how long now have they had arguably stronger money backing in production than New Japan has with Bushiroad? It's been years now. And
yeah, 2019. I want to say that Cyberfight bought them. I might be wrong with that. Maybe people can look back, but
half a decade or something. And I understand the pandemic. I get it, but even still, look where they are in the grand scheme of things in comparison to the other promotions in Japan. All Japan with a fraction of the support, both monetarily and in ownership and everything else. Catching up and it's not going to happen. You know why? Because Noah is poorly booked. The booking does matter. Noah's a shit show when it comes to how they've handled Kiyomiya and everything else we've complained. And you look at Stardom, okay? And Bushiroad purchased Stardom, and the narrative at the time was not. Now you're going to see, because all the magic ingredient is just being owned by a giant company that gets behind the promotion and promotes them well. And Stardom, they got a little bit of a lift. There's no doubt about it. But then they hit a certain level, and now they're just hitting a glass ceiling. Because there is something to the idea that it wasn't just Bushiroad coming in and buying New Japan and the marketing muscle and the money behind them, because as you see with Noah and Stardom, that's not just a magic fucking potion and all of a sudden you're putting 40,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. It doesn't work that way. You have to be well booked. You have to create compelling stories. You have to create new stars, and you have to keep that star machine rolling. And that's what Gato and Jado did in New Japan. And now all of a sudden, now Gato seems to get all the credit because Jado went off to Noah when they, and booked it. And that Noah story, Jado did good things at first in Noah. He increased their business, but then that story ran its course. And, he came back. And from there, it's like we give Gato all the credit now. But the guy made stars. And that's the key. The guy made stars, and he booked compelling arcs. Whether it was Okada Tanahashi, Okada Naito, Naito's arc, you go right down the line. And he kept creating stars. And he kept elevating people at the right time. And it's not just about having money behind something. And it's not just about making sure you have posters up all over Tokyo, which is what made people made it seem like it was. They wanted to give every reason for the rise of New Japan other than the real reasons, which were Gato knows what the fuck he's doing, and Kazuchika Okada is a generational star. Because that's another one they wanted to deny. Oh, well, if Okada was, it's just all, he's not so great. No, he was a generational star, and we all knew it. Okay? So I'm going back in time, and I'm taking a victory lap.
You're declaring it over. The argument is over.
Over a bunch of people who will never hear this victory lap, but it was nonsense then, and it's nonsense now. Because, a few years ago, all we heard was, Stardom, they'll catch up and eclipse new. Oh yeah, is Stardom putting 40,000 people in Tokyo Dome, Rich? Has that been happening? And I haven't noticed.
Not quite.
By just the magic ingredient of sprinkling a little Bushiroad on,
yeah,
and that's
just
all it
getting
takes.
money, just putting money
that's
in
all
it.
It takes. It doesn't take stars. It doesn't take, understanding how to book wrestling long term and make stars and constantly make stars. How's Noah doing? Owned by a stronger company than Bushiroad. How they doing? And with better production than New Japan. and better, a more powerful muscle behind them. How they doing? I don't know. So I just wanted to bring that up as we talk about maybe the possible 4,000 people that were in Budokan for this show.
It's pretty dark. It was pretty dark
listen,
in Budokan Hall.
Is Yoichi gonna pack him in a main event? But we all know the real main event was AJ Styles versus Marufuji anyway. But you get the idea. Anyway, we should probably talk about this show.
Yeah. So let's maybe start with that main event. Kiyomiya versus Yoichi. I thought this was good, not great. Because Inamura has always, to me, there's always kind of a ceiling with him where I think he's a good wrestler, but I never buy him as like a main eventer. I don't know if this match changed my mind in any way. I thought they did some really good hope spots here. They made it for a second, made you maybe believe that this guy was going to win. I do think that they went a little too long, though. I think that's I felt like, man, we got something going here. They might have just landed on it, and then I felt like it went like 7 or 8 minutes longer than it needed to, and then they kind of lost me, and then Kiyomiya finally put him away with the Shining Wizard and all that sort of stuff. But no, I thought it was a good match, but I do think Inamura is just not. I just don't think he's that kind of level. I don't think he's a main event level guy.
I think the match was all about trying to establish him at that level, but again, it's Noah, and you don't know what the fuck they're ever thinking at any moment. Did you ever see? This is going to be a weird one. Did you ever see This Is 40 with it was the sequel to Knocked Up, starring
Paul Rudd and whatever her name was, the other Leslie Mann, that's her name, right? Leslie Mann.
And there's a scene at the end of the movie where they're at, it's Paul Rudd's birthday party, which the whole movie built to his 40th birthday, and her father is there, who she doesn't have a great relationship with, and left her life and was now trying to come back into her life. And he's played by John Lithgow, the great actor John Lithgow. And they're sitting there at the table, and at one point, everybody's it's the big argument at the end of the movie, and because Paul Rudd's father, that character, keeps mooching money off of them, money that they don't have because they're having financial problems. So they're arguing about their shitty fathers while their shitty fathers are sitting there at the table with them. And she turns to her father. She turns to John Lithgow, and she's like, I'd rather have my father. Look at him. I don't know what he's thinking. Look at his face. I don't know what's going on in his head. I don't know anything about. That's how I think of Noah booking. I don't know what the fuck they're ever thinking. I don't know what's going on in their head. It's just, who knows? So, it's almost hard to logically break down. That was a weird way to get to this point.
I can't believe you got there. I was like, all right, I'm along for the ride. Let's see how we get there. But you got there.
But when I watch Noah, I think about that scene in This Is 40, because it's like you can sit here and try to logically break down their booking, but it's a waste of time.
You should probably just watch the matches and talk about the matches and move on. Yeah.
Yeah. You know the fuck they're thinking? They're not thinking anything. They're just throwing shit against the wall. None of it ever fucking makes sense. So I think logically this was to elevate this guy to a new level. But who the fuck knows? He'll probably be working prelims for the next 6 months based on the fucking history. So I don't know. The match was pretty good. And I think he really, with his new look, he looks like a star.
He looks better than he did before, but who knows if he's going to keep that look either.
Definitely
now that we apologize for the inconvenience, but now he's going back to his old name. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. So anyway, yeah. But then, the real main event was AJ Styles and Marufuji, which the question with Marufuji is always, what version of Marufuji are you going to get? Are you going to get, I've had enough of this shit, my body hurts, and I'm not putting in any effort? Or are you going to get where he just channels, one of the most influential wrestlers of all time, which is what he is, or at least for this era, and he just finds it and finds a way to have a great match? And I thought that's what he did here. I thought this was a great match. And I thought AJ Styles is sort of this, he was mean in this match. He was like a mean outsider, like this angry, he wasn't like happy-go-lucky, flippy-do AJ. And of course, he's all jacked up on steroids these days anyway.
Oh, come
on. I mean, he's been working out in the gym really hard.
Yeah,
these
he's
days,
just been
looking great.
Creatine, maybe a little creatine in the morning, maybe a little protein shake in the afternoon. Now, come on, man.
Yeah, and I thought these guys just had a really, really great match. And this was Marufuji showing that once or twice a year, he can still dig deep and put in this kind of performance against another guy who's still at a world-class level.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought there was a spot early in the match where I went, oh, okay, cool. This is going to be Marufuji trying. I think it was, he did some sort of drop kick or whatever. And it was like, it seems like an innocuous spot. Somebody would do a drop kick, but the way he did the drop kick, the way he landed, and then he got up right away, and I was like, okay, no, hold on a minute. This is going to be Marufuji that tries. And you don't see that very often. Occasionally he'll do it. He did it for the Ospreay match. He does it, from occasionally you'll see this old Marufuji, but very, very rarely. But it was very early in this match that I was like, okay, no, we're going to get that. And I want to see what AJ is going to do. And then AJ did a spot, and I forget what it was, and he took like a big bump. And I was like, okay, cool. These guys are going to try. And I thought this match rocked. I thought these guys worked their asses off here. I like this better than the main event. Slightly. I thought the main event was good, but I thought this one was slightly better. There's actually another match on the show that I thought was my favorite match of the night. But this was really good, and Marufuji, turned back the clock a little bit, not all the way. And like you said, AJ worked not as the I'm happy to be here WWE superstar, more so as, yeah, like you said, the angry outsider that is now, I'm come on and I'm here and I'm pissed off and I'm going to show you that I'm, I used to be in New Japan and I was a star there and I know what to do. And a lot of that stuff where, yeah, it wasn't the happy-go-lucky, I'm just going to play the hits. So he took some big bumps too. He took a lot of bigger bumps than I thought AJ Styles was going to take in this match too. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Really, really good work out of both these guys. And you have to cherish these Marufuji matches as long as they last, because they're fewer and far between these days. And we're coming up very, very quickly to when they're just going to be.
We've been saying that since like 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the mode he's been in since about 2016. And, sometimes you get this, sometimes you get, Ibushi. I don't want to pin that on,
yeah,
Ibushi's
I don't know if that's all on.
Really, but isn't he under AEW contract? What a fucking waste of money that is.
Yeah, he might go down as the.
Tony paying that guy? He's paying Ibushi,
I think he is. I believe he is, yeah.
Fuck, man. Well, good for Ibushi, I guess.
I suppose. Yeah.
Wagner too, and his and Dr. Wagner Jr.'s other very large adult son, Galeno Del Mal, against Alpha Wolf and Dragonbane.
Fucking rocked.
Fucking kicked ass like every
so
Alpha
good.
Wolf and Dragonbane match always does. I mean,
the bell rang, and then these motherfuckers for the next 14 minutes just did shit. Big dudes flying, guys. They just did 7,000 moves in 14 minutes, and they all rocked. They all ruled. Crowd's going nuts. Fucking love this match.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And again, Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane, this is what they do. This is the purpose they serve on all of these Noah shows. They bring a different dynamic, and whether they're in an opener, 8-man tag or 4-way match or whatever the fuck, or if they're in a tag match deeper on the card like this, they really help serve to break up some of these Noah shows. Now, this was a very good Noah show, but some of the Noah shows that aren't so good, they always bring energy and kind of lift some of the poor Noah shows. But I thought this show was pretty good because the last half of the show in particular, I really enjoyed this entire show. But the back end was especially good. Daga loses the junior title to Amakasa, who, I love that guy. I mean, he's just completely reinvented his career. And Daga had so much, he had great energy in this match, and a lot of times wrestlers are piss babies when they're losing the title and you might not get the best of them. But, I thought Daga, who is one of the most improved wrestlers in the world, I think, over the last 365 days or so, he brought that great energy to this as well. And I really, whenever Amakasa is given a decent spot on these shows, I'm always impressed. And that's an older guy, this is a fresh coat of paint, the old Yuki Sato. And it's
a very fresh coat of paint though. It's like he looks and feels and wrestles like a different guy, I think.
Exactly. And like a star, really.
Yeah.
And changed his whole working style and everything in the process. And I thought this was a really fun junior title match. And it was in a series of 3 straight title changes too.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go 3.5, 3.75 on that match.
Yeah, I think I was 4 on that one, and I was 4.25. It was right up there with the tag match as my 2 favorite matches of the night. And
hot finish too.
Yeah, I love the finish, man. The crowd was just going nuts for that, and they were reversing, and Amakusa just caught him. You know, he just kind of caught him and got the pinfall.
Yeah,
and I love that kind of finish where these guys feel like they're evenly matched, and then at the end of the match, the guy, you know, he doesn't. Sometimes it's good to have a guy hit a move and pin the guy in the middle of the ring for the 1, 2, 3, but sometimes it's good to have a guy just do something and get a roll up and just catch the guy. And I can stand up and go like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Shit, I can't believe that's out." And that's fine because now you got a perfect rematch to come up down the line too. And Daga is great. Daga has gotten so much better. I can't believe how good he's gotten over the last couple of years. But this is a really good match. This is right up there with my favorite match of the night. It might be probably number 2 to the tag match that we talked about, the Lucha tag match. But right neck and neck. I liked it better than the main event. And I liked it better than AJ versus Marufuji too.
Wow. So they put the national title on Oka Sasaki, beats Hayata for that. And they did an MMA finish where Sasaki did the choke, and then Hayata kind of sold it in an MMA way where he just kind of dropped dead like he got shot with a gun or something. And it kind of made me think, you know, I appreciate going for the realism with that, but at the same time, it looked kind of corny. And you almost, sometimes I think it's better just to go with the pro wrestling histrionics with stuff like that and sell the choke a little more dramatically than just kind of like dropping dead like you were, you know, like you were injected with fucking death serum. Because it just, I don't know, it didn't come across. I know what they were going for. To me, it didn't come across all that well. So they're going to get behind Sasaki. I think he's an interesting wrestler, and there's no harm in getting behind him kind of at this level of the card with this mid-card belt. Hayata, I could take or leave.
Yeah, that's why I want to because I didn't think Sasaki was very good in this match, but
he's a work in progress.
He's a work in progress for sure. Hayata I think Hayata sucks. So it's like I don't know who to blame more for this thing because it's like Sakazaki who's still very new, Sasaki who's still very very new, still kind of learning. But obviously they see a lot in him and they're going to push him pretty high. But yeah, I just think Hayata kind of stinks. So I don't know. I didn't like this match at all. I didn't think this worked. No flow, and like you said, the MMA influences of the match were all kind of, I don't know.
Well, it was the worst match in the show without a doubt.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely.
Because even the 3 quote unquote pre-show matches were just kind of functionally good.
Yeah, they were just tag matches to get to everybody else on the card. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I don't know why they're labeled pre-show matches, because normally when you have pre-show matches or something, there's then a gap and then they kind of restart the show or start the show officially with like a big. They didn't do that. Like the 3rd pre-show match ended and then they played like Kano's music to come out for the opener. Like there wasn't like, unless I missed it but it just felt like, why are they pre-show matches if they just felt like, I don't know. 0-1 world title, Go Shiozaki. Remember, he had the draw with Akitoshi Saito not that long ago in that vicious match that nobody seemed to like but me, where they beat the living shit out of each other. Here they do the title change. So Saito, I thought he would lose the title back after they did the draw with Shiozaki the first time, but he beat Chris Weiss.
He beat Chris Weiss. Yeah. I really thought because I thought Shiozaki, if they did the draw, he was like, I don't really want to be the 0-1 champion. So they're like, okay, fine, no problem. Well, because I thought the whole story was going to be that Shiozaki would win the 0-1 title from him. But then they did the draw, and then I was like, oh, never mind. And then they were going to do Vice, and I was like, oh, they're just going to bring it back to Vice, and then the 0-1 title can go back away. Not the case. Not the case at all.
Yeah, I just thought they wanted to do a little program with the Noah guys fighting over the belt, and then they just put it back on Vice, and then, you know, no harm, no foul. But he beats Vice, and they do another Shiozaki match here. And I'm like, all right, well, they're not doing another draw. He's going to win the fucking title. And he did. And they're billing it as the world heavyweight title. You notice that? Like Noah does not call it the 0-1.
They don't call it the 0-1. Yeah, they call it the world heavyweight title.
World heavyweight title. The announcers were mentioned 0-1 and talked about how it's actually the old AWA title.
I love that, by the way, too. That's so good.
Noah bills it as the world heavyweight title. Now, I thought the draw was better because the draw had a grittiness to it that I really loved. Where, yeah, it was rough around the edges, but it was like two guys who were pals just beating the fuck out of each other. And yeah, but I didn't think this one had the same feel as the draw, even if it was maybe a little smoother worked, or as smooth as an Akitoshi Saito match can be these days. But yeah, Go Shiozaki's the 0-1 champion. And now we run into this problem that we talked about when they had the draw. It's like, well, now how do you get the title off of him? Because he can't lose to anyone from 0-1. Saito can. Like, if Saito lost to Chris Weiss, you wouldn't really, all right, who cares? It's Saito. You can't have like one of those 0-1 geeks beat Go Shiozaki. Why would Noah agree to that?
Yeah, I'm very, very curious what they're going to do with that.
He could lose maybe to Masato Tanaka, right?
Yeah.
If they want to do that?
Yeah. That might be it,
man. He can't lose to
man.
anybody else in that company.
I'm going through the roster right now and trying to give you any guy that he could lose to, and I'm struggling here.
I mean, if I'm Noah, I don't allow him to lose to anyone other than maybe Masato Tanaka. So
yeah, I'm going through this roster right now. There's nobody.
The question becomes now, how the fuck do you get the title off him? So he would have to lose to someone in Noah, and then someone in Noah would have to go to 0-1 and lose it to take your fucking pick.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way to do it. So it's interesting.
Sometimes they do the thing too where the guy just gives up the fucking title. You know what I mean? Then they just
yeah, I don't know if they'll do that. That's
pretty lame. I wouldn't, but
or 0-1 is just so desperate at this point that they're willing to. I don't know what the business deal is here. Are they renting out their title to Noah so Noah could use it to give Go Shiozaki?
Well, 0-1's kind of in the Wrestle Universe world, right?
Half of it is
0-1 is, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, but I've been into this 0-1 thing all year long.
Yeah,
I've been following along with this. It's
and then Saito, he's done then, right? Well, that was kind of what that was. Did he retire, or what was the deal there?
Oh, like the post match stuff?
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on any of that.
It says here, Noah released a video that says Akitoshi Saito will retire.
I didn't know.
Sorry, I'm playing the video here. It says legendary pro wrestler Akitoshi Saito has announced his retirement. Watch this video to learn more about his incredible career, because the announcers didn't pick up on that, and I didn't pick up on it either. And then I went on, I forget where I was, and people were like, "Oh, what a way to go! He's retiring." And I was like, "Is that really it?" So I haven't seen the full clip or anything like that, or exactly what he says, but I don't know. He kissed that ring, bowed, and that was it. So I don't know if that's.
I mean, he's old as fuck.
Let me see. Okay, here we go. Here's. I'm watching his promo with closed captions in here too. So it says, 15 years. It took me a long time, but I did it in my own way. And then in my own way, damn it. And yeah, I guess I made it today. And then, I mean,
the guy's almost 60.
I have decided to retire. Yeah, he's done.
He turns 60 next year.
Yeah, Go Shiozaki must take care of Team Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah, and Pro Wrestling itself. Thank you in advance.
It all makes more sense because he never won a singles title before that.
Yeah.
So maybe that was like their way to have him have a little world title run.
Yeah, a little gold watch to call it a.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't want to go on a whole tangent, but I forgot to bring this up earlier. But I've actually seen people say that Bryan Danielson, it would be a gold watch if they put the title on him.
That's not
it's
what the gold
fucking
watch
Bryan
is.
Danielson. That's not a gold watch.
That's not what the gold watch is.
Please understand what that means. It's Bryan Danielson. You can't give him a gold watch title run. If he wins it, it's because he's fucking Bryan Danielson. That's not what a gold watch is. That's not, Akitoshi Saito getting the 0-1 title for 6 months because he's retiring. These Hangman fans, Rich, there's something else, man. They'll disrespect anyone. It's crazy. It's
Gold
fucking Bryan
watch.
Danielson.
Gold watch, my man. Bryan Danielson, come on.
Yeah, so I guess that was the whole deal. But I would think Shiozaki loses to a Noah guy and then the Noah guy. But who knows? I don't know. Good-looking guys. Their farewell match, 3-2 aside. Jake Lee kicks LJ Cleary in the face in the corner, picks up the pin, and then turns on all of his old pals.
Because Gato comes out. Gato goes, Jake Lee, War Dogs. And he puts a shirt on, and he's a War Dog guy now. So
he's a War Dog. So great.
Love it. Jake Lee and the War Dogs. I'm in. How does this guy keep doing it? How does he keep winning? The man loses up like he's Japanese Jeff Jarrett. It's unbelievable.
Guy's going to beat Cody at WrestleMania next.
Right. Who knows? Who knows what's next?
Fucking
looks like shit, wrestles like shit, has never drawn a dime, and now he's full-time in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Keeps failing up. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. But that's the end of the good-looking guys.
Yeah.
Kano defeats Yuji Nagata in the technically what was the opener.
Yeah.
Good match. You know, nothing out of this world or anything. And Yuji Nagata's at the point in his career where he's going to put over guys like this. Although Kano's no spring chicken, but obviously far less exposed than your typical 39-year-old. But yeah, no, it was fine. I don't have a ton to add. I have notes. It just says good. That's my only note on the match.
I said pretty good match. That's my notes say. Pretty good match. Pretty good match. It's close your eyes. It's Kano and Yuji Nagata. It's probably exactly what you think it's going to be. So,
and the pre-show had a bunch of 6-man tags and stuff that we don't need.
They're innocuous.
They just kind of existed, and because they're labeled pre-show matches, I don't feel bad about not talking about them.
Exactly.
So we will. Now if they didn't, if they just labeled them as part of the show, I feel obligated.
We got to give our takes.
Yeah, exactly. But my boy Rohei Oiwa was in one of those matches, and he just jumps off the fucking screen. And other than that, he had a little Ninja Mac action, flipping around like Ninja Mac is apt to do. We love us some Ninja Mac. And Hajime Ohara, who they refused to push, working the curtain jerking the pre-show. And it's super crazy in the gang. So yeah, that was the Noah Destination, which was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think a little overhyped. People were saying how great it was.
It's not a show of the year. I saw some people saying show of the year. I was like, that's a
bad
year.
Show of the year? What?
That's a bad year.
I didn't hear anyone say show of the year. Now, I saw a lot of people saying what a great show it was. I thought it was a good show. Let's pump the brakes on great. I don't think it was a great show. But I thought it was a good show, and I didn't feel like it wasted my time at all. So.
All right, so let's move on to All Japan Pro Wrestling. They had their Summer Action Series show July 13th from Osaka Edion Arena number 2. Attendance for that was
960 something.
958.
958.
958. Okay. I had to triple check that if that was correct. I think that's correct.
No, well, it is. That's Osaka 2. That's what the fucking building holds.
Right.
Listen, why did they do all this rigmarole with Suwama saying it's his last challenge, right? For an Osaka 2 match.
I don't know.
Where you can't get more than 1,000 people in the fucking building. So my theory was, all right, it was pretty late in the game when he said it was going to be his last challenge. It was like a couple days out or maybe a week out.
Were they at like 600 tickets and they wanted to get up to 1,000 maybe?
My theory was maybe a late push to sell some tickets because they were pulling an embarrassing number. But Gerard DiTrolio, no relation to Finn, tells me that it looked like ticket sales were on their normal pace all along, so that wasn't it. So I have no earthly fucking clue why Suwama would have said. That's the only reason would have been maybe to push some late tickets because we're burying the lead here. A day after the match, he then decides, I've changed my mind. I will be entering the Royal Road tournament, and I will, in fact, be chasing the Triple Crown.
Unbelievable. I can't believe this professional wrestler lied to me. God damn it.
So, yeah, but why?
Yeah, to what end? To what was the end here?
What was the point? I still have to think it was to push some extra tickets because there's no other explanation as to why they would have him say that. Did he go into business for himself? All right. The only other explanation is it's one of those translation things where maybe we don't understand the tone or the context of what he was saying. Okay. I'll give you an example. If if an American wrestler had a big title match coming up and they did a promo and they said with a very clear tone, and who knows, this might be the last time I challenge for this title. And we all understand the tone and that it's not meant to be taken seriously. Right? But then if that gets translated to fucking Spanish and ends up in the Mexican hardcore wrestling, or it gets translated to Japanese, maybe then like because the tone is lost, that might become like a story.
I don't know. I felt we read the Tokyo Sports thing, and it felt like he was straight up saying, the translated headline is Suwama makes a big decision. His match against Anzai will be his last as an active wrestler, and he will challenge for the Triple Crown. I have no intentions of becoming a burden to the wrestlers. I want this to be my last challenge for the Triple Crown, and stared into the distance.
Well, then what the fuck?
I don't know. I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Right?
It's very weird. And then for him to go back on it literally the next day is
maybe he got carried away cutting that promo, and it became a story, and maybe he knew after the match he had to backpedal.
Got a little too real, and then he decided he had to.
All right, yeah, you know what? Then again, I'm gonna win that Royal Road, and it'd be funny if he wins it now too.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he got so close. Maybe if he got his shit absolutely destroyed, if he got shit kicked in by Anzai, he would have said, "Yeah, that's it for me." But maybe he was like, "You know what? I got kind of close." Well, here's the thing,
Rich. I would argue he did, because he hit his fucking finisher on the guy, the backdrop driver, and Anzai kicked out. And then Anzai hit him with 3 backdrop drivers. It couldn't have been more. This is the last time, buddy.
I know. I agree. When it was over, I said, yeah, that's a good way to go out. Because the match was structured as in Suwama is giving his last bit here. They did the exchange where they're both doing backdrop drivers. They both no-sell it. Suwama hits one more of them. Anzai kicks out, then Anzai picks him up, does 3 more, and then pins him. And that felt very much like you gave me your best shot, old man. You hung in there with me, but I'm the new generation. You're the old. Thank you for all you've done, but this is it.
That was the perfect match for someone's last shot at the title.
Right, because he got real close to winning it. There was a lot of hope spots, a lot of those sort of...
Again, I disagree. He hit his fucking finisher, and the guy just kicked out of it. And then the guy used his finisher on him 3 times.
No, but I mean, the fact that, Suwama even got that, it wasn't like 100%, Anzai just defeated this guy in 10 minutes, just swallowed him up or whatever. It was like Suwama fought
it wasn't a fucking squash.
He fought for his life. He fought for his life here to continue to hang on.
This would be like if, in Wembley, Swerve Strickland hits Bryan Danielson with 3 Basaiku knees, not 1, then puts him in the fucking label lock. Unnecessary. He hit this man with 3 of his own finishers and then beat him.
Yeah.
After he kicked out of
his finisher.
the man hitting him with the finisher. This couldn't have been more. I'm watching this match thinking to myself, oh yeah, this is Suwama doing business the right way. He is getting owned by this kid with his own fucking move 3 times in a row after he couldn't win with his own move. What a man. He is falling on his own fucking sword. He's never challenged. This match is saying that he cannot compete with Yuma Anzai. And then the next day, you know what? Come to think
Let me give it one more shot at him. Let me see if I can get one more shot at the kid. Yeah.
Throw my name in the fucking hat one more time. I don't know. None of this makes any fucking sense to me. None of it makes any sense. The Saito brothers defend the tag team titles against Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi. And they win clean. Aoyagi takes the pin. And I thought that, we should actually talk very quick. It was Ryuki Honda who came out and challenged Yuma Anzai. So stablemate comes out, and I think he challenged him. He came out there by himself. I don't fucking understand Japanese, but I think he challenged him. But this man is facing the Aoyagi Renayabe winner. They're having a match in 2 days. He faces the winner of that match on the 17th. He faces Rai Saito on the 3rd. So I guess technically the winner of that match faces the winner of the Aoyagi Ayabe match. And then they set up this match against Ryuki Honda. So he's beaten Anzai has beaten all the top guys already. Okay. He beat Nakajima for the title. He beat Kento Miyahara. He beat Hideki Suzuki.
Yeah.
He beat Suwama. He's going to beat Aoyagi. He's going to beat one of the Saitos. He's going to beat Honda. All that's left is like the other Saito. Who the fuck else? You know what I mean? Like, he very quickly has burned through like every fucking contender. So are they going to go round 2 with all the contenders again? Or is he going to lose one of these 3 matches that he has coming up? And obviously the one that you would circle is Aoyagi, right? But Aoyagi just took the pin here in this tag team title match where, you know, the Saitos, to me, this is the Saitos, they're hit or miss. This was good Saitos.
Yeah.
I thought they kicked ass in this match. Now, it could be the opponents that they were in there with, you know, helping them to look good. But I know you didn't watch it, but the Korakuen show, or maybe you did, the Korakuen show from June,
I did not
which
see
I
that
reviewed
one,
on
no.
Flagship Plus. They were an elimination match where they teamed with Naruki Doi, and I thought the Saitos looked like shit. This match, they fucking look great. These are the Saitos where I'm like, this is one of my favorite tag teams in the world to watch. And they looked like fucking killers. And they looked like guys who can challenge for the Triple Crown. And they beat 2 of the top guys in the company to continue their title reign. So I don't know. What did you think of it?
I loved it. Yeah, you're right. The Saitos have this weird thing where sometimes they land and they're just fucking great, and sometimes it's like, they're a little. This one was great because they're big, they're monsters, and Kento and Yuma Aoyagi were great at being kind of wrestling, you know, as kind of the little guys getting beat up and have to be crafty and being good work. They had to be good tag team workers. You know what I mean? They had to go in and cut off the ring and bounce back and forth and do all this sort of stuff. So I thought they played their role perfectly, Kento and Yuma Aoyagi. And the Saitos, it worked on this night. They were the big bruisers, the monsters, and kind of also the shitbags too, that they're really good at being. They're good at being monster shitbags, and that's what they were on this night. And yeah, I thought it was really, really good. And the Saitos getting the win, I thought worked. And I loved it. I thought it was a great, great match. I probably liked it a little bit more than the main event as well, which I thought the main event was good to a level. I'm kind of, you know, Suwama doesn't really work for me anymore. Kind of over Suwama for the most part. I thought this was great, though. I thought Kento worked his ass off, as he always does. Yuma Aoyagi, who I think is fantastic. And the Saitos, it landed. It probably, like you said, because of the opponents. But I think they're just legitimately good, too, these days. They know their role exactly, and they play it perfectly. And yeah, this idea of this, you know, monster shitbag dudes that just won the tag team titles, that was cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
You know, one more thing. We always put over Anzai so hard. I will say this. I'd like to see a little more fire from him. Sometimes he lacks a little fire. You know, that'd be the one critique I would have with Yuma Anzai. The best match on the show to me was Naruki Doi and Rising Hayato.
Hell yeah. All right. No hot take from me on this one. That match, how good was this match? Naruki Doi and Rising Hayato.
Such great energy. The crowd was so into this fucking match. And I think a lot of it had to do with, Osaka's a strong town for Dragon Gate. Naruki Doi's in this match, you know, and because Dragon Gate, they run Kobe, they run Osaka, they run Tokyo, they run everywhere. It's not like a lot of these other companies like DDT just running predominantly Tokyo, right? Or, you know, some of these other companies like Osaka Pro, obviously is an Osaka Pro. You have a small promotion in Okinawa. Dragon Gate runs everywhere. They're nationwide. And I just felt like there was such great energy for this. And I think maybe that had something to do with it. Doi being familiar in that city. But he wins the junior title over Rising Hayato. I thought it was the most... It felt like it had the best energy on the show out of all the matches on the show. And Naruki Doi is still so great. I mean, he is just... That generation of Dragon Gate guys, those guys are just great pro wrestlers.
Yeah, they're just phenomenal.
I mean, that's all there is to it. They're just great, all of them. You know, whether, you know, you go right down the line, Kagetora, Susumu, obviously, you know, all the, you know, the Doi and Yamato and Shima and all those guys too, but going right down the line, the guys are just great wrestlers because they worked all those dates and were working every night and just, they're just great. Doi's just great. And he still is great. And, you know, he's 43 years old and he's a freelancer and, you know, he just gets it. He gets the art of pro wrestling and it's like second nature to him. You know, you watch a guy like him wrestle and all those guys I just named and it's like they can do it in their sleep.
Oh, yeah.
They can fucking do it.
He can have this match in his sleep. Yeah, he could just do this, every day. And the finish was great. We talked about the Amakusa versus Daga on Noah, how he just got caught. That's how this match was too. It was like Rising Hayato did a move and went for the pinfall, and Rookie Doi just kind of rolled through it and got his own little pinfall. And Hayato's trying to get out, 1, 2, 3, and he like fuck. And Rookie Doi's just like, I'm just smarter.
Pinned him.
I'm smarter and better than you. I've been in this game a lot longer than you have, pal. So give me that damn title. And well earned.
Yeah. Then very quickly, the rest of the show, Ren Ayabe and Ryuki Honda defeat Shotaro Ashino and the Bodyguard. It's Osaka and the Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard, yeah.
He's getting up there.
He's
looking
getting there. He's getting there, yeah. Yeah.
He's an older guy. I'm not.
He's 56.
I mean, he's 56 years old.
Yeah, 56. Oof.
He's not fucking roided up to the fucking gills anymore. He's kind of,
getting a little softer. He is getting a little softer in his older age.
I tell you, this 8-man tag. So we had Cyrus, Hakuto Omori, Kuma Arashi, and Jack Kennedy. I'm waiting for him to team with Ted Kennedy. What the fuck is this? Where's Jack Kennedy? What kind? How? I mean, and the guy apparently is American.
Rob?
He's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, brother, you got to change your name. You got to change the name. Yeah,
with a working name of Jack Kennedy.
Right. If I show up to an indie show and I say my name is Lyndon Johnson, they're going to say, "All right, let's figure something else out." What else you got?
And it's not even just like. It's almost worse that he calls himself Jack Kennedy than if it was just John F. Kennedy, because it's like what some old fucking congressman. I had a conversation with Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, young Jack. Me and young Jack were talking about policy.
We talked about some bills. You know, like Jack Kennedy. What kind of fucking name is that?
Jack Kennedy. Yeah, that one's gone. You can't be Jack Kennedy forever. That's like one of the most famous politicians in American history was, nicknamed, was Jack Kennedy. So
Jack Kennedy. So they beat Jiro Musashi, Siego Tachibana, and Seiki Yoshioka. Seriously, he should find someone and team with someone named Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, right. Get a Robert in there too. Get the whole clan.
Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby.
Since it's Jack, it's got to be Bobby.
Kennedy, Teddy.
Jack and Bobby Kennedy.
Teddy, and Jack. Yeah, just come in.
Because the thing is, they'll get booked by BLP. They'll get booked on the whole fucking meme circuit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they'll make a killing. They could be the Dead Kennedys. No, we just booked it.
Oh, my God, you did.
The Dead Kennedys. Jack, Bobby, and Teddy. But it's got to be the nicknames. And they can call themselves the Dead Kennedys.
Licensed to print money.
They'll be wrestling.
Not that much money.
Let me tell you
but some money.
They will be wrestling Danhausen on fucking BLP shows.
Dan the Dad. They'll be facing Dan the Dad, and because Dan the Dad will like shake their hands or whatever and be like, "Oh my God," he could do the gimmick where he's like very respectful of them because it's
unbelievable. I just made this guy. I gave him a 2-year run on the American Indies.
He can run a produce show. He can run a produce show for God's sakes.
Like the Teddy Kennedy could have like a flask inside of his tights. It could be like just the whole thing.
And he could be a womanizer. And he's got carte blanche to be an absolute
Jack Kennedy,
gigantic womanizer too.
Yeah, he can come down with a different valet every match.
Right.
It's I can't believe he's running around using the name Jack Kennedy.
Do we know anything about this guy?
I never heard of him.
Yeah, I never have either.
How the fuck did he he's based in Japan? That's the thing. He's based with something called Yanagase Pro Wrestling, which I know nothing about.
I know. Yeah, I never heard of that. How did a guy from Alabama find his way to what the hell is it? Yanagase Pro Wrestling?
Which is based in Gifu.
Okay.
And that's where he's been wrestling the last. I mean, I don't even see American bookings on his cage.
What the fuck?
He's just doing the fucking Japanese sleaze circuit
at Sports Bar M's Cafe in Gifu.
I mean, he's working Heat Up.
Yeah.
You don't get any lower than that.
No.
I mean,
well, he's moving on up in the world. He's got all Japan bookings now, so give the guy a break.
A Jack Kennedy. I can't believe it. From Birmingham, Alabama. You know, because I thought maybe, all right, maybe he's fucking Irish or something. Well, they would know too. It's the fucking Kennedys.
Yeah.
Maybe he's, fucking Welsh. Maybe he's a Scot. But no.
From Birmingham, Alabama?
American.
He's from Birmingham, Alabama. I think he's probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Got to talk to Jack.
I saw this Super Delphin listed on the match card. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, they're in fucking Osaka. I get it. But then the match was like intergender, and I immediately fucking
I thought the same thing too. I was like, I don't see Super Delphin that much. Yeah, and then it was Super Delphin and Super W versus Flying Penguin, and I was like, I'm out. Okay, I'm good.
Fuck that. I didn't realize it was
I don't know who or what Flying Penguin is, but I'm good. I skipped the match. I didn't watch it.
I couldn't X'd out any faster when I saw it was intergender. I'm like, I don't have time for this fucking bullshit. And Hikaru Sato and Hideki Suzuki. Hideki Suzuki getting his heat back here after losing the Triple Crown match. As they beat Dan Tamura and Ryu Inoue. I have no fucking thoughts on it. And we got to get to MLW.
Yep. So let's get to the world of MLW here. Blood and Thunder. MLW returned to YouTube on July 12th from the Coliseum in St. Petersburg, Florida. We'll talk about the matches in a bit. But the big reveal, I know, Joe, you were on the edge of your seat. Selena De La Renta revealed her baby daddy.
You couldn't wait to get to this.
I could not wait. How
You've been
horrible.
waiting 3.5 hours.
This is one of the worst segments I've ever seen in my entire life. Awful.
I thought it was fun.
Oh, you're a nutcase. This was horrible.
I thought it was fun.
So, Cesar Duran, we always call him Dario Cueto. He is Cesar Duran in the world of MLW. He comes out. He was on a heater, man. I don't know what was up with this guy. He was swearing left and right. He was swearing like a sailor. He goes, enough bullshit. Let's get to the fucking thing. I want to find out who the baby daddy is. And I'm like, whoa. Even Joe Dombrowski is like, wow, he's fired up tonight. And he kept swearing. He was just swearing a lot. All right. Yeah. So then Selena De La Renta comes out. And she goes, I'm not going to tell you who the baby daddy is. And then, Cesar goes, fuck you. You tell me who the baby daddy is. And I'm like, what's going on? What is happening? And then
she was like, maybe it's one of these fat fucks in the front row.
Right.
Like, we're not kidding. This is how it went down.
It just got real. They were working blue as fuck. As blue as you could work. And then and then
these fans are like laughing. They're like, yeah, maybe it's one of us fat fucks. Right. And then Cueto's like walking around. He's like, is it you? Is it this fat fuck? Is it you? Is it this one? Like pointing out specific fat fucks.
Okay, actually, the segment rocked. Now I'm turning on the segment again.
I told you it was good.
Well, because then the best part of the segment did happen, which was Bad Dude Tito walked down, and they go, "Oh my god! I thought it was just a business relationship between Bad Dude Tito and Selena De La Renta. Did he actually, procreate with Selena De La Renta? Yeah."
I'm thinking, all right, Bad Dude Tito, nice fucking job.
Yeah, good for you, man. Yeah. So then he walks down to the ring, and Cesar Duran goes, no, do not tell me you're the baby daddy.
And I don't know why. What's so bad about Bad Dude Tito?
I don't know. I was like, he's a very good, nice man to have. Because if you do not know, Cesar Duran is Selena De La Renta's papi, in case you did not know.
That's her papi.
That's her papi.
So this is his. He'd be an abuela, or that's the grand. What? That's the.
You're asking the wrong guy. You're asking a very gringo here. I do not know. I can't tell you that. But
abuela is grandma, and abuelo, right? Would be the grandfather.
Great. I don't know.
Let's go with abuelo. So Cueto would be the abuelo of this child. And for some reason, he really hates Bad Dude Tito.
He did not want it to be Bad Dude Tito. So he goes, do not fucking tell me you're the baby daddy. We're working blue as fuck. And Bad Dude Tito goes, oh, no, I'm not the baby daddy. I just want to see what's going on here. And he goes, oh, get out of the ring, you motherfucker. And I was laughing my ass off.
How did you not like this segment?
Okay, I've turned on it again. It's great. The problem with Selena De La Renta kept saying, oh, do you want to know? And then she said, well, I'm not going to tell you. And it was like, okay. And she said, okay, maybe I'll tell you. And then she was like, no, I don't know if I'm going to tell you. I'm like, all right. But then...
The problem is you see the difference between, like, no pun intended, a major league production and then this.
Yeah.
Because he's a professional actor, but the rest of these people had no timing. Like Selena... The rest of the people involved had horrible timing with their lines.
Yeah, right.
It was just like, and he's out here acting his ass off, fucking Cueto guy. I loved him running around pointing to specific fat fucks.
Is it you?
Is it you fat fuck? Is it this fat fuck over here? Is it you? You know? And he's fucking working up a sweat.
Okay, segment rocked.
And
I've completely
and
changed.
there's people pointing at themselves like, it was me. It was
Yeah,
this
yeah.
fat fuck. You know, and it was a fat guy pointing at himself.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
I'm
the fat fuck you were talking about.
Yeah,
so then
absolutely.
Mr. Saint Laurent comes down and everyone's just like, no way, it's not him or whatever. And it's not him.
Yeah,
But
no.
he says, don't worry, World Titan Federation, we got into doing fertility. We do DNA testing now. And then Caesar looks at it and goes, this is a fucking COVID test, you idiot. And throws it back at him.
Well, you missed the key line, Mr. Saint Laurent. He said, we're the worldwide leaders in steroid testing, and we've also gotten into fertility testing.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
That was the joke.
Yeah,
You know, it's 1991 WWF
Right,
jokes
right.
is the whole idea of the bit between the World Titan Federation.
Yeah. But it was a COVID test, and he goes, I didn't know they were different, or something like that. So, okay. Then, finally, she goes, okay, enough talk. I'm going to tell you who the baby daddy is.
After 20 minutes.
Long 20 minutes, too. And then one of Dario Cueto's henchmen takes his mask off.
Yeah.
And it's that guy. We don't know who he is.
The only henchman.
Yeah.
The only henchman, which you knew it was going to be that guy. And we're waiting for the review. Oh, he had some funny lines, though, in the beginning, too. He was like guessing. He's like, is it Star Junior? Is it Star Junior?
Yeah, he was going over the other. Is it one of my luchadors? I like that. Is it Star Junior? I like that. That would be sick. That'd be awesome. Star Junior just walked out. He's like, yeah, it's Star
I'll agree
Junior.
with that a bit.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that guy to reveal himself as Star Junior, like with the Star Junior mask underneath the other mask.
Oh, take the mask off.
To wrap
Star
up the whole
Junior.
fucking
Yeah,
segment.
that'd be cool.
So the guy takes the mask off, and it's a nobody.
It's just a guy. Nobody knows who it is. Yeah, they're like,
it's just some good-looking Spanish guy. Like, it's just some guy. Like, and then they make out, and he's like making out with her face, and they just walk out, and then they're just making out again on the fucking stage, and they leave. And I don't know, it was just some fucking guy. But Cueto sold it like it was the worst fucking
right,
news
like
ever.
he was quivering, and they're like, "Oh, Dario Cueto's
passed out
not
in
going to
the
be happy
ring
with
and-
this." One of his most trusted confidants. It's like, is he? I don't know who that guy is. It's just some guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Christian Cole, the color commentator, had a great line though, because when the guy took his mask off, Christian went, "Well, that's one of the best looking guys I've ever seen in my life." So,
Yeah.
and he's a good looking guy. Don't get me wrong; he's a very good looking guy.
Yeah,
I like that.
He was a total stereotypical, like,
Soap
Latin
opera
Lothario looking guy.
Yeah, he was like a soap opera looking good looking guy.
with the ponytail and everything. You know, it's
Is this guy a worker?
yeah.
I don't even know who this is.
I don't know who the fuck he is.
Okay, we
I
don't know either.
No one knows who he is. No one knows anything about him. Someone was saying it's her real life lover. Is what. I heard.
Okay.
Which I still don't know who the fuck he is though. Like, he was eating her face. So
yeah, hopefully.
No. So hopefully, yeah, exactly. But man, I don't know. I thought it was so stupid that it was fun. That segment. But there was also a wrestling show.
There was.
Rich.
There was
a wrestling show, and we had Atlantis Jr. moving on in the Opera Cup as he defeats Okamura, who Okamura is just everywhere.
He's everywhere. You can't escape Okamura.
But he gets knocked off by Atlantis Jr. here in what I thought was a decent little match.
Yeah, not bad.
Nothing wrong with it. Then they did a segment where you had the Beaumont Fight Club. It was, I always forget the big guy's name.
Mr. Thomas.
The heater.
Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, you had Mr. Thomas and what's his name?
Alex Kane.
I can't even remember. And Alex Kane, because they face each other in the tournament.
Right.
In the first round. So they were out there doing the whole thing where it's like they're being friendly, but they're teasing that they won't hesitate to take the other guy out at all. I have a question for you. Does Faye Jackson add anything to this
Zero.
act? Nothing. She doesn't ever promo. She doesn't ever get involved in the matches. What does she add to this act?
Yeah. Almost
Other
nothing.
than an extra envelope that Bauer has to give out at the end of the night. I just don't get it. So next up was Tom Lawlor versus Jake Christ in a uppercut match. This was another little 2.5-star match. Lawlor wins. Christ is like a perfect mid-carder for Lawlor to beat. You know, they don't really push him, but he's a competent worker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
It was a good scalp. You know what I mean? A good, felt like a win against a guy who, sort of matters on the roster, but also doesn't matter. So it's like you can easily beat him in it. But
yeah, perfect guy to beat in something like this. So then Paul Walter Hauser does a promo that nobody could hear or understand
or care about. We got it. I appreciate them trying to make, because yes, I get that he's a real actor or whatever, but nobody cares.
Nobody fucking cares.
How many times have we seen this guy come out on a wrestling show and nobody cares?
Look, he's eager, and in theory, he can bring eyeballs and stuff, but nobody fucking cares.
Right. I get why you can't say no if it's like,
right.
He's like
price.
Yeah, but nobody cares. Nobody knows who this is.
This comes across like Tony Khan was like, no, you can't wrestle. And he went to MLW because he just wants to wrestle, but no one fucking cares. So the gist of this is, and it's preposterous, he challenges Tom Lawlor to a no holds barred match in an MMA cage. And the catch is Mr. St. Laurent cannot be at ringside. This doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, why would you challenge Tom Lawlor?
Yeah, I would not charge
to a no holds barred match.
Right.
In an MMA cage. So it's just stupid.
Well, it should end in 2 seconds. The bell should ring, and then Tom Lawlor should tap him out in 2 seconds.
Well, Paul Walter Hauser must have something up his sleeve, Rich. That must be what it is. My guess is he will have a special. He will reveal that he has been trained by a special, and it'll be like some MMA guy.
Doesn't matter. Tom Lawler's a real
fighter. I agree. So those two matches were just okay. I feel like the Atlantis Junior Okamura match was like a good second fall in Arena Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we had Minoru Suzuki versus Akira. And of course, Minoru Suzuki joined Contra. And Akira is battling the Contra guys as this babyface in the company now. And Minoru Suzuki wins the match. Rich, if you're going to book Minoru Suzuki.
Yes.
Right. Let's see if you follow my train of thought here.
Okay.
What is like the one key to booking Minoru Suzuki, the one thing that you know is going to pop the crowd above all else?
The theme music.
Kaza ni Nare. Right?
Yeah, right.
He doesn't come out to that. He comes out to the Contra.
He comes out to the Contra song, yeah.
What fucking sense does this make? Now look, I get he's a heel, and maybe you don't want the fans like singing along to a heel's theme, but it's Minoru Suzuki. Basically, all this man has left is the fucking theme song.
There's not much else. Yeah, there's not much else to go on. So, yeah, I wouldn't. I would probably try to make sure I use the song.
I'm looking at my notes, and we missed one key line from the Dario Cueto, who's the baby daddy
Cesar
segment.
Duran. Cesar Duran, please.
Oh, Cesar Duran. We missed the one key line. The first thing he said when he came out was, "We are going to reveal the baby daddy. I know you guys don't fucking care." Yeah, well, yeah. Well, why would you say that though? Like you're admitting that the angle is shit. Like,
I was wondering, was he bothered that like people were not paying attention or booing or something like that?
That could have been it. Maybe that's why he was so angry out there.
Yeah.
3 stages of destruction.
I've played. I saw it when I don't know if it made it on the pay-per-view, but before Azteca Lucha started, he got in the ring and he did not feel the crowd was being loud enough. and he worked blue for this one too. He goes, "I thought you wanted to see a fucking lucha show."
Yeah,
and he goes, "We came all the way to here, Chicago, and I thought we'd get a good crowd for this great lucha show, but apparently I was wrong." And he just challenged everybody to start making noise. And eventually they got there, but yeah, maybe he was just pissed off and people were booing during his little baby daddy speech. But he seemed to be angry from the beginning. He wasn't.
He really did. He's like, "You guys don't fucking care, but we're going to find the baby daddy." Like he was very aggressive the entire time. 3 stages of destruction. Matthew Justice wins the first blood match very quickly by hitting Mads Krugar with all kinds of ladders and chairs and piling them up on top of him. Next up was the street fight. If you're asking what the difference was between the street fight and the first blood match where they used every weapon under the ring, I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you what the difference was, but I guess in the street fight you got to pin the guy as opposed to just drawing blood from the man. But Mads Krugar won the street fight with looking on my notes here. That was where they did the suplex off the ladder through the table. That was actually a really impressive, dangerous looking spot. But Matthew Justice is a fucking nut, and he always does crazy shit like that. He also had Bill Alfonso with him in this one. So, and then third was the medical evacuation, which was an ambulance match. Rich's favorite, and the power bomb through the flaming table from Krugar on Justice. And then it was the funniest thing because he power bombs him through a flaming table, right?
Yeah.
And Justice is like fucking dead.
Also, the table didn't break at all.
Yeah.
Not that much fire.
He grabs him, throw him into the ambulance. And Dombrowski goes, Mads Kruger with wrist control. What? Like it's so technical.
It's like a rainmaker. Yeah, he's maintained wrist control as he puts him in the medical evacuation vehicle, you know.
He just power bombed him into the flaming table. He's talking about wrist control because he grabbed him by the wrist. Oh, it's the end of the show. You know we're getting goofy.
It's MLW, man. We should end every show. Every show moving forward, we should end with MLW. It's a great way to end the show.
Wrist control. What's he got to grab like a cravat next to a top wrist lock? And
he's got to shoot the half to get him into that.
He's going to work him down before he throws him in this fucking ambulance. So, yeah, he just grabs him by the fucking arm and whips him into the ambulance. This guy's talking, and I like Dombrowski. He does a really great job.
Yeah, no, he's good.
You know, but he's talking about wrist control because I don't know, but Mads Krugar wins the 3 stages of destruction. So
yeah, there you go.
That was that. Then we had Janai Kai defeats Gigi Ray, who we were not familiar with last week, in a featherweight match. It was perfectly fine. Kenta versus Bobby Fish. Now, this is where I'm going to put over Dombrowski because, my God, what a hype man. He gave all this incredible background information and hype and said that Bobby Fish was a young boy in Noah and he's got the deepest respect for Kenta and Kenta has the deepest respect for him. And Bobby Fish, always will consider Noah his home. And Bobby Fish is 3-1 as a professional fighter. And Kenta has the kickboxing background and Styles make fights. And this was so good. And I'm thinking to myself, AEW should hire Dombrowski just to like do to talk over fucking pre-tapes and hype up matches because this legitimately was such a great job of talking it up. And then I'm thinking to myself, he's doing all this talking about how it's this great competition between these two kick fighters and great athletes. And Kenta's going to Kenta it up. But you know what?
He didn't.
Kenta didn't Kenta it up.
No, he didn't. This was fucking great. How good was this?
This was a good match.
This was
a really good match. You know, this might have been the best. This was the best match on the show, unless you're really into the 3 stages of destruction for the crazy bumps. I would say that this was the best match on the show. Unless you were really into Sami Callihan.
No, Jesus, thumbtacks. No. Good Lord. No, this was so clearly the best match of the night. Really good. No, this I could not believe my eyes. But as they're wrestling, and it's like, you know, they're getting like 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I think this is good. And then like it kept getting good and better and better and better. And I'm like, holy fuck, these guys are having a great match. Kenta and Bob Fish in the year 2024 in MLW are having a great match here in the Opera Cup. Like, why? Of all the times that Kenta's going to try, this is where he tries the hardest?
This is the spot he picked. Well, maybe Dombrowski was right. Maybe he does have a deep respect for Bobby Fish from their days in Noah. I mean, they went out there and had a look. This wasn't like a 4.5-star match, but they had a really good, entertaining match.
It's, you know? I mean, think of what you would think a Bobby Fish Kenta match would be in the year 2024.
If they tried and got the most out of their ability.
Right. Well, I would say, like, if they didn't, like, in my mind, it would suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, knowing what I know of those two guys, it would suck. You're saying. Yeah. But no, it was like the opposite. It was exactly like the best possible scenario that you could possibly have of these guys.
This was if they would try and got the most out of what they have left. And it was good. And, like, I kept waiting for Kenta to do like a ref bump and grab a fucking chair or something, but they didn't. They just fucking wrestled. And then my notes actually say they just fucking wrestled. And then
no bullshit.
He wins it. He wins it with the go to sleep, and the mouth and Fish spits the mouthpiece out, so it looked like Kenta knocked the fucking mouthpiece out of his face when he gave him the go to sleep, which was a nice little touch, and added to the fucking spot. And he just pinned him clean with the go to sleep, and he moves on in the fucking tournament. I was so pleasantly surprised by this match. These are two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I don't know how many listeners, know that. You know that. The old school listeners know that. Kenta is completely fucking washed. Bobby Fish he's getting up there, and he isn't what he was. But this was a nice throwback from these guys where they had a more than acceptable match. It was the best match on the show. So Matt Riddle, Sami Callihan, no ropes death match. Well, it's Sami Callihan with thumbtacks and fucking Legos and spitting and everything else. And I don't know. It was fine. I don't know. I mostly watched it fucking through glazed eyes. I don't know. You want to talk
you're
about
asking? Nah, dude, you're asking the wrong person to ever give you an earnest, review of a Sami Callihan death match. Yeah. Matt, it's the same. He comes out and says, "Turn that fucking music off, you pussy! You're a bitch!" And they, hit each other with thumbtacks and tables and shit.
That's exactly
Boring
what he did.
Fuck,
what an impression! Yeah. What an impression!
I've heard it so many fucking times in my life. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And then he has a boring 25-minute brawl. So, yeah, great.
He spits on his hand and the drool comes down his fucking...
Gross.
Disgusting. Before we get out of here, Ricky Shane Page, done with MLW. Your thoughts, Rich?
Oh, no. Great.
Hasn't been on the last few shows.
No, he hasn't, and that's fine. I have not missed him for
they
one
wrote him
moment.
off.
Fine.
They wrote him off after the... probably after the fucking fake War Games, right?
Yeah, because then Akira got his revenge, and then they wrote him off. That's good. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's what you do. So he was in Battle Riot. So yeah, he beats Akira in the Taipei death match. Then he wrestles Jake Christ. That ends in the schmaz, the DQ. Then Ricky Shane Page and Sami Callihan beat Akira and Jake Christ in a New York street fight and intimidation games. Then the War Chamber where Akira, they wrap that up. The Akira team wins that. Then he loses the national openweight title to bad dude Tito. Remember, you were there. And then he did Battle Riot and then he was gone.
Yeah. That's
it. So, yeah, you lose your feud. You drop the title and we're moving on. But honestly, this was the best place for a guy like him. He's not an NWA guy.
No.
That's not a Billy guy. I can't see him being an Impact guy.
Nah.
He's got the heat with Game Changer. Although, it's pro wrestling, who knows? He had the book for Circle 6 and then that fell apart. So I don't know if he, where does this guy end up?
I don't know. Just toiling around.
Like nowhere left for this guy to go.
Yeah.
He's not a WWE or AEW
guy.
Dear God, let's be honest. So
maybe it's it. He's 40. I don't know. Maybe he's decided to.
He's a lifer.
I think so too, but I don't know what else he could do. But
he's a lifer. I don't see him moving on to go work in the cubicle. I think he's going to try to.
He's an Ohio guy, so I don't know. He could work for Revolver.
Yeah.
Revolver. I don't know if Revolver pays the bills.
He does work Revolver though. He's a regular at Revolver.
AEW. I don't know. Has he got any heat there? He probably.
I mean, he hasn't worked there in a while.
Yeah, he probably has heat there or something. I don't know.
How often do they run these days? I don't even know.
I don't even know. CZW.
They just use students now, right? Like
the husk of CZW. Well, you can go to XPW. They're running again.
XPW.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? You mean the LA porno promotion?
Yeah, they're running again.
Oh, okay.
He might already work there, to be honest. I don't even know. Oh, he does. Hold on a minute. I just went to their page, and here the first tweet is Masada versus Schlack versus Ricky Shane Page from Alive and Kicking, February 25th, 2024. So maybe he's going to devote more time to Rob Black's XPW.
Yeah, he's feuding with Masada there.
Great.
Do they stream? Like, what's their deal?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't want to know.
At the LA Church in LA, California, Baptized in Blood, is the name of the show. Yeah, they stream on their own fucking website.
Stream it now.
XPW.com.
What do I got to pay for
You
this?
would think a porn production company would have some kind of
Are they still a porn production company though?
I don't. Well, Rob Black still fucking owns it.
Does he? Okay, is he still doing porn?
I don't know, man. I don't.
Holy shit! $20 for "Look What You Made Me Do" on June 23rd. If we want to get the,
I don't know if he still makes porn. How would I know that?
I don't know. Just asking.
I don't even have access to most of the porn sites anymore in Texas.
Oh, that's right.
I gotta like when I want to rub one out, I gotta get real grimy.
Yeah, good thing you're a little older now. Yeah, if you were a teenager, you'd be screwed.
Terrible for these young kids, right? Like, I got to get real grimy if I want to, imbibe, partake in some porn in the night.
Yeah, you got to go to a weird site, and also your least favorite thing ever are these people from a different country.
Right.
Your least favorite genre of porn is, let's see what this is. Oh, no. They're from Macedonia or something. So
if I hear European accents, especially Eastern European, I can't jerk off to that. It kills it for me. My boner is just withers away.
They're from Estonia. I don't want to watch this at all.
No, that's right. I can't do it. I cannot jerk to European porn unless it's British. British women I can do. I can jerk to that. But I cannot jerk to any other kind of European porn. I can't do it. I can't maintain the boner. It doesn't work. It's an instant turnoff when it's like one of those ugly Eastern European languages.
You could tell. Well, you can tell from like the room that they're fucking in.
You could tell the clothes they're wearing, everything. Right. Like the video quality.
You're like, this is some Eastern Bloc shit, man. I'm not watching this. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, there's no doubt. You're like, oh shit. Is this fucking from Kazakhstan? Look at this shit. You just know right away. You're like, this might be like Bulgarian porn. I can't do it. Yeah, but those are the kind of sites where it's like hit or miss, where it's like they don't just have the standard like 8-minute Brazzers clips that I'm looking for. It's always like, quick and easy, in and out, No, it's got to be this fucking grimy shit that it maybe is even not even legal here. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with half this shit. That's because all the main fucking sites are all blocked unless you use like a VPN. And listen, I'm not using VPNs or fucking IP blockers to jerk off. I have some fucking. I'm not
gotta
going
have some
to those
standards.
lengths.
Gotta have some standards.
Yeah.
Rob Black, the Daily Beast called him, quote, porn's dirty whistleblower for revealing unsafe practices on set, business arrangements that exploit performers, and common sidelines such as porn talent agents working their charges on escort sites. So, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
He might still be in porn. I don't know. But he's also, quote, porn's dirty whistleblower.
So he's not well liked in the porn industry either.
I don't think so. Yeah. So add that to another industry that doesn't like Rob Black. So.
How do we feel about Australian accents? Somebody asked. Look, I've never come across Australian porn.
Yeah, I feel like I never have either. I'd be fine with that.
I think I'd be able to do it though.
Yeah.
Is it not legal to make porn in Australia?
I feel like I've never ever seen an Australian porn.
I can't say I've ever seen Australian porn. I agree. So I don't know. I don't think I'd have a problem with that though.
Yeah, I know the exact type you're talking about. It's you can tell.
You know the porn I'm talking. That Eastern European shit.
It's like 360p.
Yeah,
quality. And you're like, when is this from? Is this from 20 years ago? And they're just wearing weird clothes and they're in a bed with like no sheets on it and stuff. And you're like, I'm not watching this.
All the guys look like Volcan. Right. I can't. I'm not and they look, and they all leave their black socks on, their black dress socks.
Yeah, it's no good. It's
I can't. They look like Volcan in that famous picture where after he wins and he does that thing with his hands and he's looking up to the sky.
Right.
Like they all look like that, the guys, and they wear their black dress socks.
Yeah, the women have like blouses on and like just normal bras or whatever, and you're like, it's just, I don't know. It seems like I should.
They're dressed like it's 1986, but it was filmed in 2007. It's the hairstyles too. It's I don't like it. Like Croatian, it might be like from Croatia or something, the porn, or Lithuania. I can't. It's so unsexy. I can't do it. I need good old fashioned American Florida fucking porn, where the laws are as loose as the scenes. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
That's what I need. I can't, where Kimbo Slice used to randomly show up. Remember that? Remember Kimbo Slice showing up in the Reality Kings fucking porns?
I don't actually, but that sounds perfect.
Yeah, like Kimbo Slice used to make cameos in the Reality King porns.
Interesting.
Like, he used to just pop up like, it's Kimbo Slice. Like some guy's getting a blowy and Kimbo Slice would just walk by like a fucking Easter egg. Like it was a thing. It was a meme.
He wasn't actually participating in the acts, right? Just
I don't believe he ever participated. He would just be like, he was friends with those guys and he would just show up in the
got
porns.
it. Okay.
Like as like a funny Easter egg, Like you'd be watching porn and trying to rub one out, and then, oh shit, there's Kimbo Slice. You just fucking show up. Shirtless with the beard and the fucking gold chains.
The Kimbo Slice look. Like what? Yeah.
Just fucking
Demanded
Kimbo
own a shirt.
Slice.
Demanded own a shirt.
Yeah, like someone just said, wasn't he driving the car on the Bang Bus a couple times? Yes, correct.
Okay, that's good. That's a good Easter egg. That's a great Easter egg.
He'd be the driver of the Bang Bus. Remember the Bang Bus, Rich?
Of course.
Remember that one?
Of course.
Yeah, and the MILF Hunter. Remember the MILF Hunter? Remember Captain Stabbin and the Anal Adventures?
that I don't. Guy? You're getting a little farther.
No, same thing. Like he was like he'd wear like the little fucking hat that like Gilligan and the skipper wore in fucking Gilligan's Island. He had the little fucking skipper hat, and he was like a middle-aged guy, and his name was Captain Stabbin, and they would take the girl out on a boat, right? And then they'd have their anal adventures, hence the name Captain Stabbin and the Anal Adventures.
Makes sense.
And then the funny bit they would do at the end is then they would throw her overboard.
What a bit.
I regret to inform you that Captain Stabbin is canceled.
Captain Stabbin is canceled for
they didn't respect. They would throw her overboard and then throw her the fucking the round fucking thing.
Yeah,
the fucking life preserver, whatever the fuck. And that's how they would end. That every video would end with the girl getting thrown overboard after she partook in an anal adventure.
Yeah,
with Captain Stabbin. I can't believe you're not familiar with Captain Stabbin.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about Captain Stabbin. So,
because if you know the MILF Hunter and the Bang Bus and all that, it was the same producers. Like it's the same genre. The same. Like a producer and they have like 19 different sites.
Yeah,
but it's the same fucking site. You know what I mean? Like Captain Stabbin was part of that, but I that has been many years, so I could see why maybe. But if you're familiar with the others, but yeah, there's all that whole Florida crew, the whole reality.
The Florida crew, Eddie Graham's unit.
Yeah, in Eddie Graham territory. Yeah, that's what that was out there. And then you got all these newcomers now, like newcomers, no pun intended. You fucking your Brazzers and your Naughty America and whatnot. But yeah, so. I guess Rob Black's still in the game. That's what we're getting at here.
I think so. I don't know anymore, and I don't really want to know anymore. I know about as much as I want to know about Rob Black now and forever. So there you go. So all right, that is it for the flagship, man. We did it all. We covered everything we wanted to. Went a little bit over, but we got it all. So that is it for us.
Hour 4 content.
Yeah,
was that last 10 minutes.
That
was hour 4 content. That's beyond hour 3 content.
This is old school. Taking it back.
By the way, TLB came down here with that empty husk of a watermelon with a big shit-eating grin on her face.
So she housed that whole thing then.
She fucking, yeah, man. And she's, she threw it out and back. So yeah, I guess, she enjoyed a half a watermelon and fucking Coke Z.
That's not bad. Not a bad way to spend a night.
Yeah.
At all. But all right, so that is it for us. FlagshipPatreon.com for all of our bonus content. VoicesOfWrestling.com for previews, reviews, columns, all the other good stuff, including a G1 Climax preview for A Block and B Block is up there right now at VoicesOfWrestling.com. We're also going to have some good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Charles from Wrestling Playlist is going to be starting to post some stuff for us, including the timelines, his monthly timelines of wrestling history, which are fucking incredible. I'm going through them right now. Just incredible work done by Charles. So definitely want to go and check those out at voiceswrestling.com. Hopefully posting starting next week. But yeah, that is it for us. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. We're also on YouTube as well. So make sure you look for Voices of Wrestling or the Flagship podcast on YouTube and subscribe there. And that's it for us. So that is Joe. I'm Rich. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I want to tell you all about my show, the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.